Good time zone. And a happy birthday to all of those around the world. Wow, that applause is perfect timing. Orchid got the weirdest altar class. Yes, we've got the next Monster Hunter collab. I'm excited. It might seem weird from an Arknights perspective, but from a Monster Hunter's perspective, it makes sense because I don't think there's like magic in that game. So it has to be a physical sort of class, like an archer or a warrior of some sort, right? And that's exactly what she got. An archer. Bam, that doesn't look great. Why is it blurry to me? Oh well. Pretty good. I like the skin. Or the outfit. Heavy shooter. So I have to always get heavy shooter and besieger mixed up. Heavy shooter is the Pozomka and Schwarz one. So it's been a while since we've gotten one of those. And then Catapult got Mercenary, which I do think fits what I know about Monster Hunter. That's a fitting class, I feel like. Another cat? Another cat creature? A Tactician Vanguard? This time the cat comes with a dog. Then we got a Vulpes skin. Purple. To match her husband, I guess. What is this? A Vendella skin. Oh, it's a video game one. I like the plant man. I think the skin's barefoot, so that's minus 10 billion points, actually. Another Papukar skin. I feel like we just got one of those. I think they're saving Papukar Altar for the story. I don't know. She did appear in the story in episode 15. Her story is hinting at having some crazy power in her eye, so I don't know. They might be saving it. Unless they really want to do a third Monhun collab with just her. Skin for the recon, I guess. Is that a giant... Is that like a tent in the shape of an Oranginium slug? I'd buy that tent. A skin for Vitochki, I think her name was. Cute. Modules. Oh yeah, and then this skin. For Wolfenite. Geodo skin. Might be one of the most fan service skins they've ever made. And they have a whole swimsuit collection. But yeah, should be fun. The flurry to the flame, yeah, flurry to the flame. I was right. It was a good one. Today, though, traveling 150 some odd years into the future to read more operator profiles. We had 2 left from last time, but there are several more 200% characters now, so... Might have a 1 or 2 I can finish if we need to on stream as well. Yeah, because last time we did Pogranichnik, Akikuri, Chen, Tong Tong. And we had Fluorite and Estelle left over, I'm pretty sure. Now there's Fluorite, Estelle. Pretty sure Antal's ready. I think Alesh is ready. Can't remember if there's anyone else. We'll find out. Oh, I just totally forgot. I totally blanked out. Back to the collab. I totally blanked out that Spot is part of their team. So they could do a third one with Papukar and Spot. Totally forgot about Spot. Wait, actually, Midnight and Orchid aren't the teams. I'm getting the teams all mixed up. We had Yato and Noir last time, but they're not part of the same team as Orchid and Catapult. So it's not even, they're not even filling out the same team. Because Midnight is part of Orchid's team as well. So we're just getting random characters. I thought we were filling out one team, but we're not. Who is Yato and Noir part of? Op 4, which is Durin and Rangers. Yeah, so we're not filling out a team, so they could actually just be saving Papukar for its own thing. They may never go back to that team if they do a third one. Anyway. Bam. Now I know like it's a black screen, but that's just because it's loading. There we go. 12F next. Maybe we'll just get 2 for each team. So the next ones would be like... Yeah, it could be 12F. I'm not sure what team he's on. Could be Cardigan, maybe. Anyway, so we have Alesh. Oh, Catcher I did complete. So Alesh, Catcher, Estelle, Antal, and Fluorite. are all ready right now. Ardelia could be brought up if we need to, but those 5 characters will probably take the whole stream anyway.
Still waiting for something?
Distract them, disable them, or
Start with
just
what we
destroy
had last
them.
time, so Fluorite and then Estella. Fluorite is Ophidia. The very rare Ophidias. Expertise, self-sufficiency, a natural in both stringency and generosity. She felt both in the frontiers. Expertise, alleyway talk. Fluorite knows who's trustworthy, who's up to no good, and whose stupidity has rendered them incapable of reasoning. Hobbies, Wildlands rover. Everyone else in Op Team Z7 agrees that Fluorite is more amiable when talking about life in the Wildlands. Hobbies, gift crafting. Fluorite's silence usually heralds an impending prank. Unfortunately, Fluorite is often silent. She does give you a lot of gifts in the toaster messages. Date of birth, June 21st. It's coming up. She is oropathy positive. Standard strength, excellent combat skill, standard tactical acumen, normal arts assimilation. We would like to remind Miss Fluorite to regard our physical examinations as an official requirement and attend a session. If she finds yet another excuse for her absence, we shall escalate the situation to Miss Akikuri. Fluorite once encouraged local civilians to violently resist a criminal organization and helped an Endfield operations team escape certain threats. Akikuri thus endorsed Fluorite's deployment, or employment even, with Endfield Industries. She is now a member of Team Z7. No new criminal records has been filed against the operator since then. Pay particular attention to Fluorite in social settings. Her personal grudges are usually not as significant as we make them, but conversations with her may take unexpected turns. Fortunately, Fluorite is not averse to being a listener. Since we place greater importance on an operator's combat capabilities, her peculiarity is not particularly difficult to handle. However, she seized the initiative and answered every question on the list before I formally delivered it to her. In fact, she even started laughing before I could complete my engaging answers. This situation was not predicted by my algorithms, hence this interview has been added to the archives of unique cases studies for further analysis. Marvin Mullen, HR Division. Yes, he's definitely a robot. That definitely confirms it right there. A 3-headed robot. According to Fluorite herself, her Orangenium arts solely focus on the creation of polymorphic fluids with adhesive abilities. However, if this were true, which I personally feel to be not, then her malignant social skills could only be explained by her extensive experiences, since she has expert-level abilities in identifying damaging information about others. Fluorite's willingness to reveal such information without hesitation is another thing entirely. Even though arts simulation test results are publicly accessible, there are those who stubbornly believe that Fluorite has secret divination abilities. Just think about it. You almost flopped your PE and the instructor just gave you an earful. While heading back to your dorms, you see Fluorite along the corridors and she suddenly goes, "I guess it can't be helped. Midnight sandwiches are just so divine. She's so friggin' annoying. Fine, I know I wouldn't be snacking at night, but why would she say it out loud?" One operations team Z7 member once voiced their frustrations but instead of receiving comfort, they were met with a chorus of knowing looks that silently said, "I feel you." In all fairness, Fluorite does not intend to stir up trouble, and she hardly speaks during dialogues. However, her carefree nature, combined with her excessively unforgiving tone, proved to be rather discomforting to most people during my many situations. When these issues were brought before Fluorite, her defense was simple and sincere. "You want me to go and apologize?" So she can make adhesive fluids. That's her ability. Verana, known aliases, Double Hands, Gossip Monger, Shot Scott Eyes, Strangleweed, female, Phidia, green-haired. Former Muscle Boozers, former muscles for the Lame Legs, former member of the Gunslingers Posse for the Hungry Lupos, honorary member of the Scarred Company, scratched out to avoid reprisal, top shooter working for Weird Neck Logan. Rumors say that Verana began working at a proper security company after leaving the underworld. Verana is extremely skilled in the use of handguns, throwing daggers, and hand crossbows. She is famous for her quick draws, cunning, and willingness to lay down various traps. Keep an eye on anything she holds. Do not believe anything, not even a word she says. Do not attempt to confront her in the wildlands, as it has proved to be extremely risky and dangerous. Wanted for violating the established order, stealing gang supplies, treason, inflaming local tensions in the town of Iron Screw, toppling the business of Weird Neck Logan, and physically wounding and crippling every member of his operations. Also, we now have verified that she is one of the who dealt a powerful kick to the nethers of a certain spokesperson in a public setting before fleeing the scene. Intermediary. Go to the bar road of no return and talk to Bald Brown. Payment upon delivery to be made in old bills with no consecutive serials. Body parts are also accepted. 30% for hands and feet, 50% for the tongue. Bounty, 300,000 credits. Update, 450,000 T credits. Update, 800,000 T credits. Payers request another 200,000 if captured alive. Update, 1,200,000 T credits. Wow. Handwritten scribbles. That certain spokesperson is Powell. He deserved it. SOW notes. After much persuasion from our side, Operator Fluorite voluntarily submitted this bounty poster. As of now, we can verify that no copies furnished with her handwriting can be found. The Human Resources Division has already conferred with Operator Fluorite regarding the public attack on the spokesperson. Please direct your inquiries to said division if you need to peruse the relevant records. Spokesperson Powell did not suffer serious physical injuries, but his public image took a significant blow. This was due not only to his exaggerated and undignified reactions to the intense pain, but also due to the fact that he revealed a malicious demeanor upon finding Fluorite, which sharply contrasted with the public persona he had built throughout the days. Our investigations further revealed that spokesperson Powell's early political activities were primarily centered around several free cities near the frontiers. Records indicate frequent interactions with leaders of various minor criminal organizations. One such example is Weird Neck Logan, who once dominated the town of Iron Screw and is a potential suspect in illicit crop trading and the use of forced labor in hazardous environments. Logan has, on multiple occasions, granted Powell monetary benefits in exchange for protection. Operator Fluorite's final action in the town of Iron Screw obviously revealed her personal grudge against spokesperson Powell, who had secretly offered protection for the local criminal organizations. After accessing monitoring records, we verified that Fluorite carried out the deed while donning a mask. Spokesperson Powell's criminal records have since been submitted to the TGCC. This incident is unlikely to trigger further PR issues for now. File 3. The thing is, those towns and villages have been completely abandoned. according to the path described by Fluorite herself. You'll realize that she's like a scavenger, swooping from one dying town to the next. Once a new corpse appears, she would spread her wings and fly off again. I'm not questioning her motives. These vagabonds were not the ones who caused a town to fade away. Folks could only find less than ideal places to settle, places that only had limited access to support and resources from the fringes. If a hub city meets a crisis, then the resulting supply breakdown could initiate a chain reaction capable of killing every town along the route. Death starts from the most isolated spots, the weakest link of the chain. Refugees would then ride the wave of collapse until they either arrive at a new town that offers enough stability or fade away completely in the wildlands like a certain town out there. People even came up with a special name to describe this phenomenon. As long as the links between our cities remain fragile and tenuous, the stranding will never end. Crisis breeds privilege, and privilege is a hotbed for sin. Once we reach the threshold, civilization is no longer a home, but a yoke that the monopolists shackle onto the necks of their slaves. We must master the power that can help us prevent this from happening. I wonder who said this. I would say Fluorite, but then it says according to a path described by Fluorite. So it's not quoting Fluorite because it's talking about Fluorite? I don't know. File 4. Mama, I heard about how my uncles and aunts are doing. Gordon, Alloy Carrot, Trucker, Elsa, the Uni City, seems to be a cashier at a grocery store. Andalusia, Free City of Neo Tsukushi, journalists. Big William, town of Iron Screw abandoned, passed away due to a railroad accident. Kara Kurt, I only managed to learn that she left Moropolis. She was last seen in near Valley 5. Ebby, not found yet. Cavill, not yet found. Longlegs, currently serving his term. They treat inmates pretty well in Hungshan. Alden tried fighting me but ran away. I don't intend to look for him anymore. Piece of trash. Verana, you can also call me Fluorite now. I've reached the skies. Place is interesting, so I might stick around for a while. If you find this letter and regard yourself as a decent individual, please give this to Endfield Industries or burn it in the frontiers. Much appreciated. A piece of wrinkled paper folded many times. When the logistics operator gave this to Fluorite, she noticed a gentleness rarely seen in the latter's eyes. Is her... So her name's Verana, but this says, Verana, you can call me Fluorite now? I don't... Did her mom have the name first? Don't know.
Well, this is new. No tasks for me today? Did Akekuri just stroll into the training room grinning with a sword? Guess I'll stay out of her sight for a bit longer. First time I picked up a gun, I didn't even know how to open the chamber. With a bunch of guys charging at me, it wasn't like I had a choice. Honestly, this training's a breeze compared to the chaos back in the frontier. If it wasn't for pure luck that we ended up in the same team, we'd be doubling the trouble. But don't worry, I'll keep them in check. When we were kids, we'd sleep all day on the burden beasts, sunbathing so we wouldn't feel hungry. Not that I'm complaining about the perks. I just think it'd be a shame not to soak up a little sunshine at this.
Whoops. Whoop.
Still waiting for something?
Distract them, disable them. First time I picked up a gun. If it wasn't for pure luck that we ended up in the same team, we'd be if it when we were kids. We'd sleep all day on the burden beasts, sunbathing so we wouldn't feel hungry. Not that I'm complaining about the perks. I just think it'd be a shame not to soak up a little sunshine at this altitude.
Sunbathing so you wouldn't feel hungry. What is that? Is that a Fidia thing?
You're like Supervisor Perlica. Can't really hate you. The big shots out in the frontier love clinging to their status and pride. But honestly, people will follow a real leader. With or without all that. Negotiation skills? Please don't flatter those street punks. They bark loud, but the moment their boss shakes the bowl, they come trotting back. They're just tools. No spine, no plan. They make a mess, sure, but the real rot? It's the one sitting on all the power and resources, squeezing the rest of us dry. I got in some trouble before I joined. Akekuni bailed me out. Her squad was busy saving the town, kicking out those land breakers. And the locals, they were too busy eyeing Endfield supplies like vultures. Now tell me, what would you have done? I've got 6 uncles, 8 aunts, and 22 siblings. Yeah, we're very much like the Countesses. We weren't all related, just folks who fled with me and my mom. Some came later, some vanished, who knows when.
Oh my gosh, why did
I've got
Taking my hand
6
away.
uncles, 8 aunts, and 22 siblings. Yeah, we're very much like the Countesses. We weren't all related, just folks who fled with me and my mom. Some came later, some vanished, who knows when. But we stuck together, even if it was only for a short while. That was family enough for me. Some people forget we've got 4 limbs, not just 2 to drag ourselves around. Stay hunched long enough, you stop looking like a person. The frontier's full of folks like that. But if you've got the guts to look up, then maybe you've got a shot at something better. Here, take this letter. Burn it in the wildlands if I don't make it back. You can read it if you want, just a bunch of little things. The person it's meant for is gone. Guess it's up to me to find the answers they were looking for. I'm sure the big hero of Talos 2 will help me, right? This is one of my go-to bombs. Just tweak the adhesive surface and it'll blow up exactly where it counts. Oh, don't stress about its power. It's way more effective at stalling the target than just blowing things up. After going over my file, Supervisor Perlica gave me the codename Fluorite. It's naturally toxic, yet perfect for creating all kinds of industrial products. I get what she meant after skimming through the book, but honestly, kind of a cheeky choice.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, my mom and I were always running from one place to the next. Eventually, I had to survive on my own in the frontier. Some places gave us reserved grain as rations, while others taxed us with all sorts of made-up fees. Everywhere felt like home, yet nowhere truly was. The settlements in the frontier never lasted long, and the idea of home never really meant anything. Beauty has always defined the wildlands. The animals driven away by the blight never really leave. They just shift their paths each year. Grass creeps back the moment the blight retreats. Nature has its own rhythm, and there's only so much it can take. Sometimes I wonder if we really belong in that balance. In the backwaters I've lived, it's always the enforcers who squeeze people the hardest. They know how fragile things are. One spark of chaos and the whole place could crumble. So, they create a twisted balance by holding the locals hostage. Unless you're close enough to grab their throats, nothing's ever gonna change. Take a wild guess. Who do you think sealed those ears into the evidence bag? Yup. Even our kind-hearted captain knew there wasn't a better choice on Talos 2. And that face she made, all teary but holding it in? Adorable. He might look like he's enjoying it, but go easy on him. The super prepared ones are usually the most afraid of screwing up. No one's mistake-proof. Huh? What, I should stop asking him for favors? Why should I? Don't worry, he'll push through, even if he's scared stiff. He always does. Don't touch Estella's playlist or let her chase danger for real. You think she's got everything under control? Better keep a mop handy, my dear.
A mop?
That big lizard's cool as ice, even in the heat of battle. Probably doesn't even realize he's in danger. It drives the captain up the wall. But hey, that's just how he rolls. Me and him? We're totally cool. As long as he remembers my tail's not for staring.
He's a tail appreciator.
I had one of these before. What happened after wasn't so great.
Next up, Estelle. Nothing too crazy to Fluorite.
For now.
Estelle, feline. Expertise, eavesdropper. Shush, I hear a weak heartbeat. Oh, I think it's mine. Expertise, environmental camo. The highest state of infiltration is forgetting that you're the infiltrator. Hobbies, high decibel appreciator. I'll agree to call this an art form if you agree to half the decibels. I feel that. Hobby, brainstormer. Once an innocent Estella thought brain work is easier than muscle work. Date of birth, April 9th, oropathy negative. Physical strength, normal. Combat skill, standard. Tactical acumen, excellent. Arts of simulation, standard. Given the results from Miss Estella's latest physical examinations, we recommend raising the intensity of her endurance training to improve her muscular stamina. Should the results of the next PE fall below average, a probationary training regimen shall be administered and monitored by the captain of Team Z7. Operators Estella, ID name Estella Kerr, has official operational records with the TGCC and the UWST. She has demonstrated remarkable talents in scouting and intel gathering operations. Following Operator Akakuri's applications, Estella is now a member of Team Z7. Estella's work experiences are rather extensive. I wanted to learn more about her past, but she remained exceptionally quiet during the signing process and exhibited zero intents of communication apart from answering the questions I asked. And even amongst these limited things we talked about, I find most of her answers rather difficult to interpret. Fortunately, no issue of principle have been identified. However, given the positive reputation of her superior officer, Miss Akikuri, and the latter's guarantee, we shall overlook potential risk of personal management that may result from Estella's lack of communication abilities. We hereby approve Estella's employment. Marvin Mullen, HR. No Op Z7 teammates except for Estella have positive memories regarding the anniversary of the founding of Operation Team Z7. However, everyone agrees that it was an unforgettable occasion. No one has positive memories? At first, Akikuri found that the team had no field assignments on the day of the anniversary and suggested celebrating the occasion. Everyone responded positively, and a discussion on the means of celebration began. However, since the team was encamped in the wildlands far from civilization, every suggestion involved some form of outdoor activity. Estella, unwilling to engage in any physical exertion, naturally voted against every single proposal. In the end, Riverside Picnic was the only option that received a unanimous vote. It was not the favorite option for everyone, but at least nobody voted against it. On the day of the anniversary, everyone was eagerly gathering herbs and hunting game. Estella, however, returned with an armful of colorful mushrooms. Oh no. Her teammates firmly rejected her suggestion to toss those wild fungi into the cooking pot. In the end, the team conceded. Under Captain Akikuri's watchful eye, several unassuming mushrooms were allowed to be part of the stew. As the sun set, the team built a campfire by the river to enjoy what they had gathered throughout the day. Fortunately, the unassuming mushrooms turned out to be only mildly toxic. Unfortunately, they were incredibly spicy. The team emptied their water canteens to douse the heat, but to no avail. Desperate, they rushed to the riverbank to wash the spicy taste away with river water. That's when they heard a low rumble coming from upstream. The dam had begun to a reservoir drawdown. And what is that specifically? Like they're emptying it or something? Curses, I forgot about the UWST reservoir drawdown notice. That's why there's no field operations today. No one remembered exactly how they ended up swept away by the flood waters. When they finally came to, they found Estella skillfully surfing the rushing water on the team's cooking pot. The sun had already set when 4 Op Z7 teammates pulled each other to shore. They had no choice but to head downstream to look for Estella. Finally, the team found Estella sound asleep at a nomad campfire in wee hours of the morning. The nomads treated Akikuri and her team to a proper wildlands feast. The nomads were extremely accommodating, and the team decided to rest there for the night. Just as Akikuri was about to fall asleep beneath the starry ceiling, she suddenly remembered a Z7 field assignment in a few hours' time. Estella could not be awakened, so the 4 Z7 teammates took turns carrying her. They successfully reached the Endfield camp at daybreak. According to Estella's memories, she was completely unconscious as she probably ate the other fungi she picked. She treated the floodwaters as a packed and riotous mosh pit, and fantasized herself as a rock star performing a stage dive and surfing the crowd while she growled and screamed her songs. Nobody knew what Estella sang. Akikuri only remembered how she carried Estella and trudged back to camp. The young girl on her back did mumble a few things while she slept, things about home. Kyobi? Yep. Another Kyobi. Archived operational records obsolete. Operator Estella, you were instrumental to the success of our espionage and counter-espionage mission against the surviving landbreaker elements that infiltrated this area. For operational debriefing, we must now go over details of the following achievements we made in the field. They will be used as reference and instructional materials for our future operations. Okay, you flatter me. How did you successfully avoid enemies' feint and correctly deduce actions of the main attacking force? I was conducting voluntary standby. When I'm done standing by, the enemy's main force were within visual range. In other words, we can assume you have received a relevant order. Sounds like incredible foresight. Did Captain Akikuri give you that order? I believe it was given to me by electrolytic imbalance and accumulation of anaerobic metabolites. At least that's what I felt. So you're trying to say that you missed the enemy's feint attack because you were resting, but woke up to encounter the main enemy force. Okay, next question. So how did you intercept the enemy's operational passcode and decipher their subsequent actions? The beat wasn't right, I heard it. Beat? What's the beat? I spent a day in the camp of the surviving landbreakers. They kept playing Death Dreams album. I always been a fan since I was little. Akikuri and Fluorite called it noisy, so I stopped playing it. Can we get to the point, please? Well, Death Dreams has a simple structure. The drum was played on a 4/4. I knew the rhythm and the tempo of every song on the album, but the beats were off that day, bass was off. There's a sound that constantly changing lurking under the drums. I'm afraid I'm losing you there. What happened next? I thought it was some Wildlands remix, so I focused really hard on the beat and jotted it down, and it happened to be a series of breaker codes. I've learned them before. We later rallied and cleared out the outpost and discovered they were using oscillators to send out their codes. Death Dreams was just the camouflage. What a waste of good music. Well, regardless, you successfully provided us with key intel, thank you. This will be the end of our inquiry. Application rejected. The aforementioned operational log offers no values of reference to standard operation teams. Akikuri, Captain. Document. Log of Captain Akikuri's interview regarding Operator Estella's background check. Given the extraordinary circumstances of the operator in question, Captain Akikuri met me beforehand to discuss the operator's background and showed me a number of relevant physical and documentary information. Exhibit A, photograph. An old photograph shows a little feline girl with silvery white hair happily sitting on a wooden rocking chair. A young man and woman sit beside her, their hands resting on her shoulders. Together they look like a happy family. Information from Akikuri revealed that this was a photograph taken 10 years ago in the study of Estella's family home. The place is now a ruin. The Agaloy and the Blight forced them to move. The family brought their entire savings and traveled to La Fantoma with the aim of settling down in that city. However, the family did not achieve their goals. Captain Akikuri next displayed a newspaper cutting that recorded how Estella's family was swindled by an investment scheme and lost almost the entirety of their savings. So 10 years ago, so she's also like 20-ish, I guess. Old newspaper cutting. Macduff financial scheme breakthrough. Criminals splurge and decimate the victim saving. Reported on the 9th of this month, correspondent to Meralda, Bernard Macduff, the chief suspect behind the supermassive financial scheme that shook Talos 2 with the sheer scale of the fortunes involved, was finally apprehended just yesterday after years of hiding. In-depth investigations by our judicial system discovered that the criminal organization had devised a massive fraud scheme, luring unsuspecting investors with promises of generous returns. Principals from new investors were disguised as payments to old investors, creating the illusion that the scheme was generating massive profits. Many unsuspecting companies and individual investors were enticed to increase their investments in the Macduff scheme. Such a legal financial operation of paying older investors with the money from the new one is a complete abomination of genuine investments that aim to generate true value. There was a fun little TV show forget what it was called, but it was like a retro sci-fi show that had this exact plot, pretty much. Persistent efforts by our law enforcement agencies paid off when Macduff was finally brought to justice. He will be facing the full severity of the law. Unfortunately, the Macduff gang has either splurged or transferred their illegal gains during their escape and hiding. After the case was filed, the amount of assets recovered and returned to the victims was a paltry sum compared to their losses. This means that despite arresting the chief suspect, the massive losses incurred by many companies and individual investors can no longer be salvaged. This case is a stern warning to the general public. Money doesn't fall from the skies. Investors are advised to remain vigilant and alert. Be wary of intricately designed investment traps created by various criminal organizations. When Macduff case was closed, Estella's family had already joined the UWST and worked at Shaft 39 in the northern mineral field. However, luck did not smile on the family. Captain Akikuri showed us another newspaper clipping. Oh boy. Old newspaper cutting. Accident in the northern mineral field worsened by landbreaker raid. Reported on the 19th of this month, correspondent Risa, a massive mining accident has occurred at Shaft 39 with many miners trapped in the pits. Surface facilities were also subject to a sudden landbreaker raid at almost the same time. Many crewmates and their family members have gone missing. According to Chief Mineral Field Monitor Luba, Shaft 39 was about to conclude their operations in the evening of the 18th when the shaft entrance collapsed after a loud explosion. Only a few miners closer to the surface managed to escape. Search and rescue operations are ongoing and all SAR work is expected to complete by the morning of the 20th. The number of casualties is still unknown. Our correspondent has also successfully interviewed Mineral Field Surface Facility Officer Monitor Povkova. According to her, in the evening of the 18th, a large landbreaker band appeared about 5 minutes after the massive explosion in the shaft. The raiders then began to vandalize and raid various surface facilities and buildings. Armed personnel of the UWST were defeated by the landbreakers within minutes. Surface facility offices, staff, and family members in their residences then started to run for their lives. Exact casualty figures are still being determined. Many escapees are still missing and cannot be contacted. Ongoing investigations have yet to be identified a direct link between the mining accident and the landbreaker raid. The UWST Commandery is extremely concerned with this incident and has deployed multiple teams to conduct SAR operations in the northern mineral field. We will continue to bring you the latest updates from the site. According to Captain Akikuri, Mr. Kerr, Estella's father, was rescued very much alive from the shaft. However, Estella was separated from her mother during the landbreaker attack. Booster SAR teams quickly rescued Mrs. Kerr, but Estella herself was captured by landbreakers. They brought her with them to the wildlands and subjected her to involuntary labor. However, her talents were unexpectedly revealed during this crucial experience. Or this cruel experience, even. Operations Team Z7 infiltrated a landbreaker camp and Captain Akikuri encountered Estella during that time. The dirt-covered girl verbally conveyed the geographical layout and defense deployment and even drew a map of the entire place on the sand. Estella's intel allowed Op Z7 to capture the camp and rescue all civilians with minimal losses. Akikuri was impressed with Estella's intel gathering abilities and invited her to join Endfield. Having spent many years in the wildlands, Estella also strongly desired to have a safe residence and joined our organization without hesitation. Captain Akikuri also added that this episode of extreme hardship in Estella's life also made the operator extremely adverse to any work involving heavy labor. All logs above have been transferred to the HR. So I'm a bit confused by the timeline because the Akikuri one was like, yeah, she joined Endfield and was like, Z7 is defunct. I'm gonna bring it back, and I've got a bunch of people in mind. I'm gonna recruit them and make Z7. But now Fluorite and Estella's profiles are saying Z7 already existed and was being led by Akikuri, and she brought them into Endfield and then put them on the team. So then who was on Z7 at that point? Was Z7 just Akikuri, Antal, Catcher? Were there other people? Like, the team, why would the team exist with less people in it? Surely, like, that seems a bit strange, right? So don't know. We'll see what Antal and Catcher says. Like, if they say the same thing, then there's something wrong. A medical record often reviewed by Akikuri. Patient name Estella Kerr. Member of Team Z7, full-time operator, Endfield. Estella. Routine of emission, combat UAV ambulance, admission time 2307. Location, Wildlands Medical Station, Valley 3. Chief complaint, hit by an explosion, multiple open and bleeding wounds, shock after 45 minutes of intense pain. Present illness, patient was conducting recon operation 5 clicks away from the site of the explosion, but exercised personal initiative in changing the operational plan 45 minutes ago. Patient charged into a cross-firing zone to cover the retreat of trapped teammates, but was exposed to enemy's suppressive fire. Patient described that she has been knocked off her feet by a blast and temporarily lost consciousness. She then crawled for about 20 meters before other teammates of Z7 discovered her and quickly sent her on medivac. Medical history: healthy, denies chronic illnesses, past surgeries, and past blood transfusions, or pathy negative. Physiological examination at admission: clouded consciousness, paler, grimacing in pain. Vital signs: normal temperature, weak pulse, blood pressure slightly below average, weak breathing. Head: open laceration 4 centimeters at left temporal fossa. Cortical bone intact, no fractures. Neck: no tracheal deviations, observable collapse of jugular vein when supine. Chest: penetrating wound of right rib cage, diameter about 1.2 centimeters. Percussion reveals tympany, diminishing breathing sounds, muffled heart sounds, no arrhythmia. What's tympany? Distension of the abdomen? I guess, maybe. Although it says chest and abdomen is the next one, so I don't know. Abdomen, distension. Well, okay. And tenderness of lower right abdomen. Limbs: open mid-shaft fracture of left femur, open wound measuring 6 centimeters long, end of bone visible. Yikes. Penetrating wound of posterolateral aspect of right calf. Pressure dressing already applied to site of bleeding, weakened arterial pulse and lower extremities. Skin and mucosa, multiple abrasions and contusions. Preliminary diagnosis: Right side, pneumothorax. Level 3, hemorrhagic shock. Level 3, open fracture on left femur. Multiple penetrating wounds of soft tissue. Light blunt trauma of cranium. List of emergency responses. Open pneumothorax treatment. Blood volume resuscitation. Anti-shock treatment. Pain management treatment. Anti-oropathy measures. Dressing of wounds of left thigh and right calf. Tetanus vaccination. Prognostic assessment. Patient has transferred to Endfield Medical Division after emergency treatment. According to combat trauma assessments, patient has 85% survival rate for the next 24 hours. If hemodynamics remain stable and no subsequent infection occurs, physical training and rehab can proceed after 6 to 8 weeks. Visitation records. Akikuri, Fluorite, Catcher, Antal. She got beat up. Pretty badly.
After I told Antal that I didn't like his math games, he stopped sharing them with me. Actually, people should follow my example. The Arsenal engineers keep grumbling about how fast I break my lances. Honestly, the fact that I can swing these excessively heavy weapons is already a miracle. Mr. Andre, can he turn his head 180 degrees? I should ask him about this next time. Akekuri loves long ears, so I compiled plenty of long ear recipes and gave them to her. Then she stopped talking to me for an entire week. That was so weird. I'm used to carrying out solo infiltration operations. It's a hassle, but someone has to do it. Especially because, I'm a better loner than the rest of the team. Loud metal music calms me down. Stopping such noises may be easy, but I enjoy the sense of aimlessness amidst the cacophony. It helps me forget who I am. Join the assault team? No, thank you. I am confident that I lack the physical strength to do so. And people shouldn't be forced to carry me around. Someone in the trade said I'm underutilizing my intel. I actually never thought about utilizing these secrets. It's just too much work. I guess I just enjoy collecting them. Bad luck? My parents always reminisce about the good old days, saying it was just bad luck that our lives kept getting worse. But, well, I think every experience is meaningful in some way. It was how I met my fellow colleagues in Op Team Z7. I was at rock bottom before meeting Team Z7. That time was a total disaster. Some hack cheated me of all my money, and I was so hungry. At first, Akekuri and Fluorite had me bivouac with the other nomads they rescued. But when I decided to share details on the Landbreakers organization and their patrol shifts, Fluorite couldn't hide her astonishment and asked me how I did it. Yeah, I still remember that look on her face.
Bivouac. So many interesting words today. Bivouac is a temporary encampment, often in an unsheltered area. language is it, though? It's French, but from German.
I just want to live a peaceful life and accept whatever comes my way. There was a time when I thought this was wishful thinking for someone as unlucky as me. Then I came to Endfield, joined Team Z7, and met you, Endman. Thank you for tolerating my presence. My past wasn't a roller coaster ride. I just followed my family and went from place to place. Yeah, I guess it was tiring and hard, but most Talosians went through the same thing. I just hope life can get more relaxing and easier. I like the metallic buzz when someone rips a distorted riff. When I'm out in the open, it gives my ears a strange tingling. It's weirdly comforting. Working behind enemy lines isn't that hard. On the contrary, it feels rather exciting when you don't know when the danger will strike. Well, nothing would catch you off guard so long as you're well prepared. I'm sorry, Endman. Just tell me when you feel offended by me. HR remind me about this. But my friends in Team Z7 told me it's alright because they said being offended by Estella is a part of life.
Besides the long ear thing, I don't know what there's to be offended by.
I just collect intel, and Fluorite analyzes them. How do you use intel to understand how their mind works? I hope Fluorite could share her secrets with me. The only thing she told me was that it's all down to experience. There will be a reckoning for this unfair assignment. Everyone shall learn about a Kekuri's cupcake secret. Estella, you are such an evil girl. Catcher doesn't have any secrets. In fact, he's practically laid everything bare in his work performance report. I never expected to meet a weirdo like him. I tend to get partnered up with Fluorite. She kept laughing at things I said, and even encouraged me to say more. I guess people and their minds can be quite complicated. The Savra is dedicated, though I think he goes overboard at times. Work is tiring enough as it is, but I find his jokes quite interesting. They always make me and Fluorite laugh. Oh, I think I saw this before.
I believe we should be better prepared.
Might as well we should do the rest of Team 7. So, Catcher. Aparo. Expertise, weapon maintenance. Every weapon wielded by Catcher always survives well beyond the average field life expectancy. She's more sleepy than Cruz. She's pretty sleepy. Well, at least she sounds sleepy. Nothing about her profile ever said she actually really is really sleepy. She just sounds it. I don't know. Expertise 2. Cooking. Battlefield cuisine. He only makes 3 things: roast fowl, tater fowl, and field soup, but nobody ever gets tired of it. Or tater roast, not tater fowl. Hobbies. Meticulous home economist. Having witnessed his meticulous dedication to cooking, cleaning, and home appliance repair, a fellow Enfielder awarded Catcher with this title Omni Butler. Hobbies. Sports perpetual training routine. The first PT exercise he learned at camp was 30 squats per day. He kept at it for 1946 days. He never skipped a leg day. Date of birth, August 16th. Oropathy positive. Standard. Strength. Standard. Combat skill. Standard. Acumen. Standard. Arts of simulation. He is the most standard man there's ever been. Given Operator Catcher's medical history, his test results actually astound us. We could hardly imagine how he managed to raise his physiological strength to his current levels despite his health disadvantages. Having reviewed numerous concerns, the medical division shall closely monitor Operator Catcher's regular health examinations in the future. Operator Catcher, ID name Rue Van Catcher. Is he Dutch? Was born to a military family in the Civilization Band. Following Operator Akikuri's applications, Catcher is now a member. Team Z7. Existing operational field feedback reports indicate that Mr. Catcher is the most reliable operator of Z7. He has never been absent from duty, always hands in his reports on time, does not engage in habits of vice, and is an exceptional team player. However, we have noticed that Mr. Catcher has a tendency to place extremely severe demands on himself, which may be a result of his childhood influences. Simply put, he often forces himself to take on operational duties and goals that were not originally assigned to him. When assigning tasks to Mr. Catcher, we advise referencing, when possible, the recommendations of Captain Akikuri, Martin Marvin Mullen, HR. Catcher is without a doubt the most trusted member of Z7, though he seemed more comfortable hanging back in silence and appearing disinterested in the chat around him. Catcher would immediately provide a fitting response whenever he was mentioned in conversation. We have reason to believe that he heard everything from start to finish. That's right. You can't pick a bone with our Omni Butler. Sometimes I suspect he writes a review report after every operation, and even reads the ones he wrote earlier. Why? Because I don't think any ordinary person could remember that they forgot to bring a flashlight 3 operations ago. I know I couldn't. Fluorite. Catcher is so simple and straightforward that he felt kind of unreal. He's got a control over his face, just as good as Antal. His expression hardly changed, yeah. except for that time when I accidentally threw some cream cake onto his greatsword. It was a cream cake I left lying around for a week. I saw Catcher frowning at me for the first time. He's incredibly restrained and controlled. Estella. He is an expert in solving difficult issues and appreciates the importance of being a listener. However, he is a human of few words and his social skills are potentially worrying. Fortunately, he knows how to roast fowl fillets, and the flavor is on par with those roasted by my own grandmother. Hence, there is nothing to worry about. People who can roast fowl properly can handle anything that comes their way. Antal. Thank you, Antal. Everyone thinks that Catcher is the Z7 teammate that I'm least worried about, but I disagree. He has a habit of putting the feelings and needs of others before his own, both in business and in private, and that's definitely not something I feel like I like to see on as a Z7 team captain. So whenever I see Catcher taking on extra work without being asked to, I adjust his subsequent task assignments. I don't want him to overwork himself. Agekuri. "7 years ago, during the autumn when I left Juniper Security, I worked as a part-time instructor at a youth training camp somewhere close to home. I was hoping to take care of my sick father, and make some money for his treatment. My main job description was to share various tidbits about military basics with children who had probably never set foot in the band fringes. I worked in the youth camp for 3 years, and a 15-year-old student named Rue left quite an impression on me. He was the only one in the cohort who signed up temporarily. They told me his parents did not want him to join, but conceded upon the boy's strong insistence. I often reflect upon this moment and think I should have taken this as a warning sign for things to come. Despite being so thin that he looked malnourished, Rue was not as obedient as he appeared. Rue only attended 11 courses throughout the entire term, and he found problems in 8 of them. These problems range from slight deviations from textbook examples of military poise to 1 or 2 minor memory slips. In fact, he pointed out any conformances in my course that could be considered errors. Things escalated to the point where I had to rehearse my materials before every class just so the boy wouldn't call out my mistakes. On the eve of graduation, I finally eased off my usual sternness as an instructor and asked the boy a question that had troubled me for months. I need to know why you're so obsessed with finding your instructor's mistakes. Did I make you angry at some point? I still remember the expression on his face. He shook his head and then took out a copy of How to Be a Proper Soldier, Young Adult Edition, published by the TGCC. The manual was flipped through so many times that the corners curled. Then he pointed the book at me and gave me a serious look. No, Instructor Luca, your classes were very interesting and your examples made things way more engaging than the manual. I actually liked your lessons a lot, but you probably didn't know that everything in the manual was the only font of strength that's kept me this far. I really care about every pointer in the manual because I want to put them to use on a real battlefield. I've been dreaming about this since I was 9. After hearing these words, I finally learned what Rui's childhood from another instructor and a close friend of mine. Turned out that the young Rui contracted oropathy due to momentary familial negligence. Though timely treatment was provided, the poor lad was almost forced to live out the rest of his life on a sickbed. I do not know what he experienced or sacrificed in order to receive training like the other students, but as his instructor, I do approve of his efforts and proudly call him a student of mine, despite the fact that many of his actions had caused no small trouble on my part. Come to think of it, if not for Rui's constant, incessant, and persistent corrections, I would never have worked so hard to ensure conformance to the training materials. I probably would never correct my habits of mindless and rote memorization back in the force, and I most certainly would never have made it to the elite armed security training program or become a formal instructor for a mercenary outfit. After my father passed away, I left Alloy Carrot and drifted away from my training camp colleagues. I did not know where Rui went afterwards. An accidental encounter with a former student of mine informed me that Rui seemed to have joined a relatively famous company as part of their security detail. Truth be told, I was a little surprised. I thought the boy would have become an officer or instructor. Regardless, I sincerely hope he'll make good use of the knowledge he acquired and fulfill his childhood dreams. An excerpt from Those Not Remembered, an autobiography by the legendary instructor Luca Londi. Legendary, wow. Well, 3. Mr. Ketcher, you are finally here. Your name is in the recipients section, but we all believe that you should come by and verify the package in person. It's now in the unloading area. Yes, the biggest package there, right next to the facility scale model that Mr. Andre purchased. Can you show me the sender's address and name? Sure, no problem. Let me take a look. Address is somewhere in Seshka, and the sender is Cassandra. Sounds really familiar to me. Got it, the package is mine. Are you really sure? Routine inspection found that someone has specifically cast anti-tracking oranginium arts upon this thing. Don't worry, the package is really meant for me. My older sister sent it to me. She has a habit of applying protective measures given the nature of her work. Your sister? Wait, I remember. Is she that Cassandra? Cassandra of the Mist? That famous bodyguard who made her name while working for Seshka merchants? Yeah? Fine, I think I know where she's coming from. The protective measures might be necessary then. Interesting. Phewie, processing is complete, Mr. Ketcher. You're free to take this parcel. Can I open it here? Of course you can. In fact, we can also give you delivery support if you need help carrying it. Well, what the hell is this? Is this some sort of exoskeletal frame? Stop, Mr. Ketcher. What's that thing you're holding in your hand? Maybe you should only press the button at a more spacious recorded audio file starts to play. Ruby, baby, got the prez? Sorry, too much work is catching up to your sis. I'm afraid I can't celebrate your birthday at your place. Ay caramba, when I heard our brother said he got an urgent order to head north, I planned to take a few days off, but the boss suddenly got us a major order that cuts through the middle of nowhere. I had to do this myself. So I got you the latest civilian grade U-447 heavy exoskeleton for your birthday this year. It's far cooler than the DIY alloy greatsword that brother gave you last time, right? What? I guess names and language and location don't necessarily always have to add up, but he's got Van in his name, which is Dutch, but his sister is using Spanish? Anyway, people say you got plenty of field missions, so I applied for a 5-year warranty. Wear it when you head out. It'll make Mama and Papa feel safer. You know, Papa and Mama never feared anything except you getting hurt by accident and ending up like last time. So please pay close attention to your health. Don't forget the promise you made me and your brother. And don't forget what Papa and Mama told you, okay? Finally, happy birthday, Rui. You're the baby brother I always worry about. Your sister will always keep you in my heart. End of recorded audio file. Turns out to be my birthday gift this year. Forget it. At least it's better than the Octo Herbal Tienza Mega gift pack last year. Document, a yellowed piece of medical history. Patient name, Rui Van Ketcher. Age 4. Date of birth, August 15th. Or date of admission, rather. Not birth. August 15th. Institution, Browning Hospital, Free City of Alloy Carrot. Yeah, so he is from Alloy Carrot. which seemed to have been implied by the instructor story. Attending physician Raymond Harrant. Present illness. Patient was injured by an accidental originating device failure 3 hours ago, resulting in minor injuries to the cervical vertebrae. Patient symptoms 1 hour after admission include dizziness, hyperhidrosis, weakness of the lower limbs, and nausea. Patient also exhibits giddiness and reduced consciousness after onset of symptoms. Tests reveal continuous reduction in muscle strength. Recommended immediate hospitalization and surgical treatment. Diagnosis: acute oropathy with accompanying complications. Continue monitoring. Document medical logs from 10 years ago. Young Master Catcher, as your attending physician, I believe I am obliged to give you 3 reminders. Conclusions based on our current medical monitoring tells us that your oropathy is now under control. However, your physical strength and fortitude are now far below average. You might need to spend quite a bit of time in bed. I'll also advise against getting off bed or moving around. Any action that unnecessarily stresses your body might endanger your life. I hope you can pay attention to that, you and your family. Medical logs from 6 years ago. Once again, I must emphasize, young master, okay. Perhaps you prefer it that I address you as Mr. Catcher. Well then, Mr. Catcher, though there is no sign that your sickness has worsened, your physical exercises have far exceeded the levels I've recommended for your case. It is with my strongest advice that you attend at least 3 rounds of full physical examinations and my personal inquiries at the hospital in the coming months. And if you decide to persist in rehabilitative exercises of such excessive nature, please make sure you do so in the presence of a family member or professional caretaker within 10 yards of yourself. I am also prescribing you another list of medication, but also keep in mind that given the state of your health, even the most effective pharmaceutical products would have limited use. Medical logs from 2 years ago, okay. I am now forced to admit there are certain accidents in the world that go against medical norms. Mr. Catcher, it is by miracle, but also primarily your personal force of will and determination that you have molded your body to its current standards. I did not expect to see a second case of such phenomenal and dramatic recovery as yours. Of course, as your attending physician, I still hope you'll come in for your semi-annual examinations just to be on the safe side.
You're looking for me, Enmin? Well, I got 30 minutes before 5 back-to-back sessions of sword fighting, and I'll be free for the rest of the time. I have recently reviewed everyone's suggestions and improved my wildland stew recipe. Feel free to give it a taste if you're curious, Enmin. Whenever I return to Dijon, I always get this sense of comfort and relaxation that I could hardly describe. Antal insists that it was the coziness of the dorm mattresses. Of course, I don't intend to disagree with him. I have complete faith in my teammates during missions. Yet I have zero faith that they will heed the captain's orders and get proper R&R afterwards. One would stay up all night at the library, and another would be pulling pranks on raw recruits at the game room. Such nonsense can only end when I personally escort them back to their cabins. I paid my family a visit 2 days ago. They don't really like my career choice, but I told them what Team Z7 was really like. They didn't say much to that, except giving me a few rucksacks of local specialties. Z7 would need 6 months to go through all that. Enmin, I think you should get half a sack as well. Life is very fulfilling. I actually feel useful, and everyone actually appreciates it. That's what being an Enfielder means to me. there are occasions where I get too exhausted to sleep, but I take that in stride. It only means that I've earned someone's approval. Oh, sorry, Enmin. I was thinking how I should prepare for the next mission. Oh, wait, I got a question for you. Which of these do you think is more useful? A handheld welder, anti-grav modulator, or originium dust-proof mask? I'll just bring everything. I was born to a regular family. My parents were soldiers. My brother is a military instructor in the TGCC, while my sister is an armed escort working for the Seshkamam. I was the youngest child, and they kept me protected. Everyone wanted to give me a peaceful life, instead of following their footsteps and joining the military. But family protection doesn't last forever, especially in Talos too. I don't miss my childhood before I turned 9. It made me dislike the smell of iodine and peroxide. Back then, I couldn't even lift a water canteen. The doctors also kept telling my family to keep me inside the house. I was only allowed to have fun outdoors in the rarest of occasions. Even now, I could still remember my recovery and my first walk in broad daylight. It felt as though I was brought back to life. Some might find Z7 to be an unimpressive operations team. They're not entirely wrong. Captain Agekuri is a little too young. Fluorite's bite is a little too nasty, while Estella and Antal both need a little more common sense. Nevertheless, I'm more than willing to stay in Z7. In fact, I wouldn't mind being a permanent member of the team.
I think he's a bit older than them. Based on the medical logs. So the first one was 4 years old, and then the next one was like 10 years ago. So I think he's maybe mid-20s at least.
When I first joined Endfield, I doubted if I had what it takes to earn the trust of my betters. But the whole of Team Z7, and even you, Enmin, always made this clear to me. I could achieve far more than I believed, and meet everyone's expectations. Boot camp was pretty standard. Just some basic combat courses with a bit of field survival added to the mix. Hardly anyone expects boot camp to teach you things that are actually useful in real battles. I might be the exception, as I spent an entire drill session debating with my instructor how his demonstrations deviated from the standard positions depicted in the manual. What happened next? Well, I convinced him before the third drill session began. I'm actually the least talented soldier of the family. My physical strength and combat technique fall far behind the family norm. Even then, I never gave up and simply devoted myself to greater training. I woke up 2 hours before my brother and trained thrice as hard as my sister. And I've kept at it till this very day. Why did I start learning how to cook? I don't really have a reason. When I first joined Z7, I tried the food prepared by other teammates. On day 2, I asked instructor Lil Dodge for help. And this was how I received several weeks of training for ensuring survival in the wilderness. I interned with a few PMCs before joining Enfield, but all of them wanted me to be more professional. In layman's terms, they wanted me to take the pay and stop asking questions. They made their point and were reasonable about it. Unfortunately, I couldn't bring myself to comply. I just hope no one gives Antal and friends any more strange ideas for the next assignment. We've already made enough trouble for our arsenal engineer this month. Yeah, you guessed right. The captain has a stack of feedback reports she couldn't finish, and they're all sitting in my bunk. Don't worry. If I got no assignments on the following day, I'll just pull an all-nighter and blitz through everything.
I also think he joined Endfield on his own, and he was probably on Z7, one of the first members on Z7, who would have been there to pick up Fluorite and Estella.
We have a responsible captain who deeply cares for everyone in Z7. But it'd be great if she took a little more care of herself. Even at team gatherings, she always puts others' taste before her own. Honestly, I wish she'd just admit she loves Higashini's snacks. Then I wouldn't have to keep pretending I made them by coincidence. I knew Bandermerks like her. Cunning, avaricious souls who kept to themselves, whose smiles looked scarier than their growls. But Fluorite started discussing techniques for throwing Originium slugs with Antal, so I guess we could give her some time before getting judgmental. I don't know why, but Estella always appears shocked whenever she reads my reports. I simply described everything that took place in the mission, and only added a few immature ideas at certain sections. Nothing about my reports should be considered surprising. They're all pretty standard, especially when compared to her creative compositions. Antal is knowledgeable and happy to answer questions. Problem is, he gets too eager when it comes to answering questions. Estella just casually mentioned, "Why do long ears have such long ears?" Then Antal decided to spend the rest of the day giving us a lecture on ecobiology. It only ended when we got back to Dijong. And he said he only gave us a summary that left out 70% of key contents. This must be the Oraline mentioned in the manual.
You have something.
And
discuss
now,
with me.
Antal. Race Savra. Expertise, device kit bashing. Show Antal a device for the first time and he'll quickly come up with a dozen plans to disassemble and modify it. Expertise, puzzle solving. Hardly any riddles can beat Antal. But riddles and puzzles on the newspaper are another thing. Hobbies, gameplay analyst. Antal never cared about winning or losing, but he always ends up winning. Hobbies, humor sensitivity training. Antal believes that constant practice will make him the master guru of lame jokes. Date of birth, April 10th, Oropathy negative, normal, strength, standard. Combat skill. Now, what's the difference between normal and standard? Normal, tactical acumen, outstanding, arts assimilation. Operator Antal is a member of Team Z7. He was previously involved in Endfield Industries' Oranginium machine automation research project. Antal later transferred to the Specialist Tech Division following Operator Akikure's special recommendations. So he'd be I guess it was those three, and then they picked up Fluorite and Estelle. Antal never hides his thoughts. When I asked him about his academic background as part of my routine inquiry process, he provided a comprehensive list of courses he took in every semester, as well as his academic achievements. Nevertheless, this proves that Antal is passionate about his field of expertise and solely responds to various questions. As I was preparing to conclude the interview, which Antal had extended to nearly 3 hours, he curiously asked me if I have a humor appreciation system. He also offered to test the system for me if I did not mind. Martian, Marvin Mullen, HR. Antal is not as cold or unsociable as he appears. Everyone who actually talked to him would agree with this statement. No one expected this stern-faced dude obsessed with Oranginium technology and science to be equally passionate about lame jokes. Why would this techie tell jokes so bad that one would need to devote all their brain juice and logic reasoning to fathom? Is he doing this to boost his sense of humor? When you look at his expressionless face and realize that he's doing his best to make you laugh, you might also find it difficult to determine why you end up laughing anyway. Is it because of his lame jokes, or the stark contrast presented by his physical form? Akekuri, Antal's team captain, has maintained extreme optimism about this quirk. At least he's sincere, though there are times when he fails to read the context. For example, he may get a sudden urge to show off his sense of humor in the face of hostility. Unfortunately, the enemies often think otherwise. To Antal, being someone interesting may have become a lifelong pursuit, and he treats everyone as instructors capable of reviewing his performance. It doesn't matter if they are fellow team members or fellow infielders whom he only met once. Antal would humbly seek advice from anyone deemed capable of sharing valuable recommendations. Recently, Antal placed his antics on hold as a particular individual stepped up to the game and volunteered to offer constant feedback. Hold on, it's voluntary, right? I don't know if there are other people capable of laughing even before Antal finishes his bad jokes. Yes, we're talking about our administrator, who would, with the greatest patience, hang out with Antal and listen to everything he has to say, ranging from eureka moments of innovative ideas to hour-long science lectures that he suddenly initiates when he finds an opportunity to do so. In a particularly memorable moment, Antal tried to persuade the admin to take off the mask. His excuse was to apply certain mods, like a pair of beam-firing eyes. Heck yeah. Of course, Akekuri happened to be nearby, and she fiercely reprimanded Antal's action. The operator was forced to write a 6,000-word self-examination essay and read it out loud before the admin on the following day. Why did we let him do that? That's unnecessary. Of course, this punishment was hardly effective to Antal. It would only take a few days before his creative mind starts to formulate other interesting ideas. Operator training logs. If we only look at Antal's current performance in training sessions, I have reasons to believe that he lacks direct combat capabilities. He is skilled at offering fire support for his teammates with his self-customized staff and orbiters. However, he seldom casts his own arts. Perhaps we can continue to monitor his performance in actual field battles in instructor's notes. A certain log that requires sufficient authority level. According to reports by members of Operator Team Z7, Antal is exceptionally skilled in Orangenium arts. His ability to cast the arts far exceeds that of other operators in his cohort. When conducting a certain operation, Op Team Z7 members witnessed how Antal, in a crucial moment, positioned himself before the hostage. The operator used his arts to instantly disintegrate the greatsword swung by the attacking landbreaker and saved both himself and the hostage. It was an extremely tense moment. Antal would immediately lose his life if he failed to de-weaponize the attacker. However, he himself remained extremely calm throughout the entire incident. Since then, members of Team Z7 gained a deep appreciation for Antal's abilities. Though he was known for being slow when it comes to sensing danger in the environment or picking up changes in the emotions of other people, he was willing to risk his own life to save others. This revealed Operator Antal to be an extremely kind and courageous individual. Antal was remarkably humble when his teammates asked him about what he did. Antal replied that he did not perfectly wield his Orangenium arts and failed to achieve his grandmother's level of expertise. He claimed the old lady could take apart and reassemble large metal machinery, while disintegrating a landbreaker's weapon was the most he could do. Antal also mentioned that his grandmother crafted a small staff for him during his childhood to make up for his lack of power. Your talent lies elsewhere, that is what my grandmother told me, and I have absolute faith in her words. Antal was born in a normal household in the free city of New Rankwood. He spent most of his childhood growing up in a household Orangenium appliance repair shop belonging to his grandmother. Although Antal lived in a place known for its entertainment industry, he had no interest in the movies or performance industries. Instead, he preferred lying on the table and looking at his grandmother work. Her jobs included repairing a faulty refrigerator and swapping out its Orangenium starter component, or restoring a television with a shattered screen and severely damaged main board to mint conditions. The old repair lady had jobs every day, but she never neglected her grandson. When she had time, she would personally design and make various toys such as a mini sports car and powered combo puzzle cubes for the lad. Hence, Antal grew up very much loved and never felt lonely. Years of influence from his grandmother gave Antal an outstanding talent for assembling and taking apart Orangenian devices. He successfully secured a full scholarship in an academy and chose a major related to applications of Orangenium automation. The academy where Antal studied at was known for its conservative atmosphere. The youth, however, was not adherent to the rules. When his novel inventions failed to acquire the favor of his professors, he chose to continue his project in private. For his academic excellence, Antal became the valedictorian for the graduation ceremony. He mounted his latest invention on his back, an automated Orangenium-powered robot arm, and enthusiastically used it to wave at the professors, who once scoffed at the idea, and then suddenly the open hand of the robot lowered 4 of its fingers, save for the one that remained still and fully extended. Wow. Although the incident left quite a psychological trauma to the members of the Academy's administration, Antal was still able to graduate. However, no one in the Academy was willing to offer letters of recommendation to his potential employers. Endfield Industries initiated a talent recruitment drive in cities near New Rankwood a while later. The advanced technologies and pioneering spirit of the company seized Antal by his heart. He then submitted his resume to Endfield. After the interview, Antal was chosen by operator Ake Kuri, who was setting up operation team on her own. He later became a formal member of Team Z7. After the interview, but I said he worked in another division first. Whatever. Oh, I only realized this after special training. The guy is pretty close to a true genius, Maze. Pretty close. Caster operator in the same training cohort. Grandma. I have received the package from you. The new arts unit is just what I need to support my modified orbiter. I have distributed the other local specialties that came attached with the package. There is no need for you to send these things to me. I have a fixed salary good enough that I have enough left over after purchasing parts for engineering mods every month. I know you've sent plushies of movie characters, outfits of classic movie stars, and other limited edition movie posters so that I can use these to befriend other individuals. You have been doing this since I was attending the academy. However, those classmates of mine simply stashed the collectibles they received inside their closets and never showed them again. Your following letter told me not to be sad. I really wasn't, grandmother. It was just like what I've told you. Their reactions and responses will not influence my attitude towards them. His trust message is also giving the Inman one of these movie merchandise that his grandmother sends. My colleagues at Endfield are not like the classmates I have in the academy. The Enfielders never turned me down nor rejected my ideas. Life here is good, and I enjoy my liberties. There is something else that I intend to tell you. My communication skills have vastly improved thanks to the instructions provided by my Z7 teammates and constant side-by-side training offered by the administrator. You once worried that my personality might start to conflict with my superior, but my current situation proves your worries are unnecessary. Our meetings have been enjoyable, and the Endman happily accepts everything I share. This also explains why I have been writing less to you. You no longer need to be concerned about my lack of friends. It is not about taking and giving, but mutual sincerity to explore and discuss everything about each other. I believe I have completely understood the true meaning of friendship. Also, your request for passing on a message to the administrator has been carried out by me. The Endman is enthusiastic and even said that the meeting with you should take place much earlier. Antal.
May I inspect your weaponry, Endman? The only issue I see is the wearing down of certain components. Replacing a single precision originium component will fix it. This repair job won't be much trouble. I offer this service for every individual in Team Z7. My studies of Dijang reveal that she is a pinnacle of engineering. Central control, the proto-rig network node, life support systems, and various parts of the vessel offer ample opportunities of learning. It has granted me the structure for my next thesis. I have a joke based on Fluorite's personal experiences. How should one respond to a threatening message from an antagonist? Answer: unsubscribe. You laugh. This joke is proven humorous. But why didn't the others laugh as you did?
I don't get it.
If your emotions are cold, join me in the outdoors. Solar radiation induces cerebral serotonin secretion that alleviates negative emotions. There was a fountain park near my academy, one that offered serenity and plenty of solar exposure. When I studied in the academy, the park was my resting grounds in moments of exhaustion. My grandmother's reply arrived yesterday. She seems rather interested in a particular individual that I repeatedly mentioned in my letters to her. I shall relay her message to the said individual, which happens to be you, Endman. You should know by now that a certain young Savra may be quite stubborn, albeit in a good-natured way. Please bear with him. I hope to share some tea with you and tell you more about how I raised that little scaly kid. Many people gaze upon Talos 2 from the decks of Dijang. I did the same, and though it offered a novel perspective, I did not share the nostalgia they felt. Perhaps my grandmother is to blame. She taught me, do not obsess about the past. Seek and broaden your future. Joining Endfield was not a difficult choice. You offer new technologies that are absent in the Academy. The scientific society can be overly conservative in the advancement of certain fields. Endfield, however, offers an admirable spirit of exploration, innovation, and practical applications. My book? It is indeed the selection of extreme Sudoku challenges.
Oh snap.
Arithmetic puzzles help modulate my emotions during idle time. I have shared this pastime with members of Z7, but reception was negative. Perhaps you can give this a try, Endman? A bad joke for me. I shall hear it. Why does a Savra only drop cheesy jokes during the day? Because the sun's out, and even the cringe deserves a little vitamin D. Ha, ha, ha. I did not mean to insult, Endman. Such is the sound of a Savra's genuine laughter.
At least that one made sense.
I have modified plenty of originium devices, but the one I miss the most is the staff my grandmother gave me when I was young. I remember her line to this day. It shall accompany you as you modify this world.
I don't know why I just had this thought. I wonder, I mean, I guess other characters also has had. I just thought of this. I guess other characters with horns would have the problem too. But I wonder how Antal gets like his head through a shirt neck. They would be really stretched out at that point.
My grandmother told me that spending a lifetime to answer a scientific question may be romantic, but lonely is a life without friends. I did not understand what she meant. Then came a time when I wanted to share the joy of a new discovery, but you were not around. This incident taught me about loneliness.
Like, you could wear button shirts, but that's a turtleneck right there, so.
Fluorite taught me a card game for passing the time. She also told me that the loser must do anything for the winner. We played 5 games. She is now obliged to give me 5 one-on-one sessions on quickly becoming a joyful partner in conversations. Having dinner? No, I cannot go. I have hunted down an Angelos without reporting to my captain. She has punished me by denying me nighttime feeding privileges at the canteen.
Is she allowed to do that?
Why did I choose Z7 instead of an R&D project? The R&D center was my initial interest, but Captain Akekuri was my interviewer. She believes that modified Originium devices should be taken out of the lab and subject to actual combat scenarios. This will better identify their issues. I concur. Therefore, I joined her team.
Fair enough.
Why do I obsess about bad jokes? During my schooling days, people complained about my lack of humor. I agree with them. My defect must be corrected. My grandmother told me she was happy I left home for Endfield. She treated this as an opportunity to get me off the reading and Originium devices. She hoped I would learn about getting along with teammates and even make a friend. Captain Akekuri. She recruited me and is very friendly. I heed all her instructions. Though she says our team is doing okay, she often loses sleep and would pace about in the middle of the night. She refuses to divulge the reasons. I hope you may tell me why, Endman. Catcher is responsible for preparing the rations during field operations. He wields kitchenware better than how I wield my orbiters. When it rains, however, he refuses to talk, but neither does he object to my presence. I find this rather perplexing. I consider Fluorite to be a fellow scaly friend of mine to some degree. I find her strong, powerful tail attractive, but she forbade me from making tactile assessments. Fluorite is also an artful conversationalist. I can learn much from her.
Damn, he just likes Fluorite's tail.
When entering a battle, I need to consider defending Estella. We both share reflective and conspicuous skin tones. It is a key concern that dangerously exposes us in battle.
Canonical operator romance?
Some Oralines suddenly move away when we approach. Why? Can it be some form of energy-based repulsion?
Well, that's all of Team Z7. I was thinking about this the other day when they had the little showcase for the next update, but I hope we get some more other team characters and or just low star characters in general. I hope we're not just forever 6 stars and like every other game does. And then you just have the few 4 stars from the release and never get touched on again. They don't make money. I mean, if Arknights can do it, they can do it. As long as they got a cool design, you'll get people into them. Plenty of people will pull for lower star characters. Plus, you just put them in the same gacha pool as the 6 star. Not like they're separate gacha pools. Like I said, Arknights does it literally every time. So.
Eccomi.
So then the other guy, I think, was just Alesh.
What a beautiful day. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Perfect for a sonequinha.
Actually made good time on these. Race Anati. He's a raccoon. Expertise, aquatic biomes. Skilled at surviving uncharted waters, no matter how deep or shallow it is. Expertise, operations planning. Alesh is always planning something. Sometimes it's angling, other times it's pulling up the finning nets. Hobbies, serious literature. Mr. Alesh usually naps with a book on his face, and he changes the book once every week. Yeah, I did talk about this in the toast. He does not actually really read them, he just sleeps with them. Hobbies, ocean angling. Fin angling may look like a peaceful sport, but it's actually a wrestling match against monstrous waves. He's a Wooster, date of birth September 1st. Orpathy positive. Standard strength, standard combat skill, excellent tactical acumen. Interesting. And excellent arts as well, very interesting. There are plenty of things we can learn by studying Operator Alesh's Oranginium arts. He probably used the arts to create a fin-like construct from a memory or a figment of his imagination. The fin is unlikely to be an entity summoned from another dangerous or unknown dimension, I guess. Operator Alesh is currently an angler and fin vendor. He is now working at Endfield Industries following the recommendation of our Wooster liaison Seagull. After evaluations, we believe that the operator is capable of serving as a liaison or covert op agent in the frontiers. When Alesh arrived at Endfield, he placed a fresh fin of unknown species on my desk. It smelled of the sea and exhibited a bright sheen. When Alesh realized that I do not require any dietary proteins, he immediately offered to perform taxidermy on the catch and mount it on the wall to commemorate our meeting. After a moment of silence, I transferred the fin to the Chief Logistics Office, completed his onboarding process, and signed a regional liaison agreement as well as a covert operations agreement. He summarized his understanding of his duties with the line, "Angling, but not for the roost." Or roast. Preliminary observations. Alesh exhibits adequate adaptability to our work environment, seemingly incredibly at ease with himself, and displays no other obvious anomalous quirks. Professional stability and performance will require further observations. Marvin Mullen, HR. Hello, people. I'm the new candidate consultant for angling strategies and instructor for hobby angling. Never heard of it? Yeah, well, I think some boss man probably misread my resume and decided to hire me. Maybe he sneezed and got me approved. I'm just an angler and fin seller, you know. It's also possible that your Endfield system got too many loopholes, since a freezer can get treated as frontline combat hardware. Anyway, I got in. Okay, since no one is shooing me away, I'll try to share my true knowledge. It's not going to be in engineering or tactics. I'm talking about angling. Don't underestimate angling. It's an outdoor meditation for true anglers. Those who don't know anything call it old boy's excuse to be lazy. I'll tell you about angling with the Endfield lingo. It's a miniaturization of a tactical operation. You got bait, a hook, deception, and patience. So, who ends up slipping? Who gets hooked? Who becomes bait? And who enjoys deep-fried fins on the shore? It's all about luck and vision. Now let's take a look at two basic terms. Float angling and bottom angling. What is float angling? It's just scattering the bait in the water and looking at your float. You may think you caught something when the float moves a little, but when you lift your rod with excitement, you suddenly realize the fin never bit and is in fact laughing and blowing bubbles at you. Some fins just take 2 bites and swim away, and some don't even like the bait. They just snag the line a bit and take you for a fool. It's like a turf battle. Bandit gives a funny look at you, and you think he's about to make a move. But turns out he only remembered that he forgot about the spices for the fin stew. Angling is not about mysterious techniques. It's all about snapping your rod with after 12 missed bulls. Not snapping your rod. So, what is bottom angling? You dig a hole for yourself and then sink a bait, and then nothing else happens. The fins just ignore what you did. Maybe they'll roll their eyes before moving on. I used to know a gang advisor who is an expert in bottom angling. He always says, "Stop moving, son. They fear you more if you stay still." So, Sinhor advisor would spend all day on his second-hand rocking chair while they break our legs out there, and then he would squint his eyes and go, "Look, the enemy has taken the bait. Take the friggin' bait. I hope the old bastard shits rocks and dies. I was the friggin' bait." Got carried away a little. Anyway, angling is a great sport. Just start angling if you want to know how fun it is, in my humble opinion. It is far healthier than sitting here looking in the cold, dark space. So your question is, why am I even here? Decent canteen food, and no one's clocking my naps. Pretty nice place, actually. Alesh's contribution to the hobby sharing get-together. Alesh's daily routine. 6 o'clock, wakes up, prepares angling gear and bait, sharpens the hooks while mumbling to himself, "Gotta really hook these fins today." 6:30. Sets off, throws some fin bones to the cloud beast strays in the streets. 6:45 to 9:15, morning angling time, finds a place where water flow is slower, waits patiently for the fins. 9:15 to 10 o'clock, wraps up the angling gear, checks his catch, inspects the conditions of the caught fins. Special catches are set aside for other uses. 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock, fin stall morning shift. Fins are arranged neatly in a specific number of rows and directions. These details matter a lot. 12 o'clock to 13 o'clock, lunchtime. Roasted fin over fire, eats while glancing at his handy term. 1300 to 1500. Takes a nap or walk, sometimes goes off to the wharf to review his angling skills or sits on the bench to talk to strangers on proper angling sports, jabbers on and on while making the fins restless in the water. 1500 to 1730. Fin stall afternoon shift, continue selling fins while observing the passers-by for any familiar faces that shouldn't be showing up. 1745 to 1945. Night angling at deeper waters. Final push during sunset. Specifically targets great fins that tend to be cautious and alert. These specimens are most active during sunset. This is also the time when enemies are most likely to make their mistakes. 2000 to 2100. Dinner time. Organizes his catch for the day, records the angling results and daily fintel he gathered from all that talking. 2100 to 2200. Rest time. Relaxes on the balcony and gazes at the stars with his only eye. Occasionally gets reminded of those uneventful nights. The turf wars are distant memories, yet they also felt like undercurrents that could suddenly snag him while he angles. 2200. Prepares the bait, checks his angling gear. Who will be the fin for tomorrow? So he is actually missing an eye, unlike Tong Tong, who has an eye patch but isn't missing an eye. This guy doesn't have an eye patch but is missing an eye. Go figure. Anecdotes about Alesh. The new liaison arrived at the secret locale at the corner of the wharf for the first time. The owner of the fin stall laid motionless on the bench with a book on his face. The fins being sold had been laid out in a specific arrangement. Gray fins faced north, red cupras were paired, and tucked away at the corner was a strangely patterned white fin. The liaison blinked as he worked his mind to recall the fin code he memorized. Struggle as he could, he failed to read the intel. Just as he was about to call the headquarters, the stall owner tossed him a fin with bits of crushed ice. No great fins today, he said. Settle your nutritional needs with this one. The liaison was stunned for 2 seconds before he accepted the fin and nodded in gratitude. He walked for around 30 yards before turning around and looked at the stall again. The owner laid on his bench as though the transaction had never taken place. Report of the day. Situation normal. Intel is accurate and pretty reliable. That's fun. So the arrangement of the fish art is code. File 3. The popper tactic was first proposed by operator Alesh. Its theoretical basis was based on poppers, a type of lure often used by hobby anglers. According to Alesh's extremely detailed yet unverifiable explanations, the popper is a fake, buoyant fin. Poppers are meant to dance, glimmer, wag their tails, annoy, and finally piss off the foul-tempered big fins to the point that they burst out of the deep. Simply put, poppers do this. Don't wanna move? Whatever. Watch me pollute your turf, play dead, and nab your stuff till you come out and beat me, and then you'll realize that I got a co-star on stage with me. What? I need to explain what happened recently? Oh, that was just a basic covert ops job. Convoy needed to get through Route 17, but the LBs loved the place. The bandits seized cargo, kidnapped people, even took over radio stations. Late-night traffic radio literally became a stinking cesspit of crude I don't know. I was about to fix my rod, when I got the mission notification, and when I read the words basic covert operations, I suddenly got overwhelmed by work procrastination. Anyway, before I left for the job, I took a look at the map and mumbled, let's try the popper. Of course, nobody knew what I was talking about. Convoy probably thought it was some new weapon, and they agreed without thinking. The naivety is astonishing. I mumbled something to myself, and people went along. Anyway, it was something really simple. We dumped 2 trucks by the road and dressed them up like they broke down, along with a few crates of firearms. Don't get too excited. The crates were filled with bricks. We even sprayed Class 1 hazard on the crates to make it look real, And then we played an SOS recording with a trembling voice. Shit is for real, man. More real than that empty rod in my previous angling run. After the first breaker mob came as expected, they paced around the setup like a beast lured in by fresh fins, and got all hungry and excited. Every one of them wanted a piece of the free takeaway. It wasn't even over. I tweaked the SOS radio louder, and the second mob arrived. The first group of boys got really pissed. They went from "I want a bite" to "You're not getting a bite." These blightheads didn't even bother to greet, and went straight to an all-out war with each other, just like wild, rabid cloud beasts scraping for a fin. So the crew hid behind the slopes and enjoyed the breaker show. We even commented on their fighting styles while snacking on dried fin roasts. Man, it was bugly as hell. I remembered hustling as a harbor punk when I was a kid, and I still fight better than these dudes. When the battle winded down, we swooped in like professional crime scene photo takers, take some pictures and clean up the entire place, the dead and the disabled, and maybe the dead or disabled. Anyway, the breaker war didn't leave many who could talk, so the entire convoy got through. Some trucker even told me, "Bro, that was some masterful covert ops." I said, "Thank you, my OG plan was to look at the skies all day. Didn't expect an entire school of Finns to show up." The biggest takeaway from this was me verifying a principle. Everything is like angling. Make things up along the way and Finn improvise. Way better than making detailed plans, IMO. His puns is out of control, though. File 4. Let me introduce an old friend of mine. Wait, yeah, I think we're old friends. Anyway, the story begins with my least favorite angling style. Drop and yak. Drop and yak is just like what it says. No lures, no baits, no waiting for fins to bite. Drop the hook. Oh, yank, not yank. Not whatever I said before. Drop the hook, yank with all your might. And hope it stabs into something that you can plop in the bucket. They call it angling, but it feels more like violent muggery to me. Absolutely zero patience or technique. 100% deadly. I saw the technique for the first time at an abandoned wharf. An old angler with scars all over his face dropped, yanked, and man, it was aquatic murder. Blood everywhere, and the poor fin was still flapping. A bunch of kids and I learned how to drop and yank by hiding behind the barrels while chewing on tortillas. It doesn't feel like it'd be a very efficient way to fish. I mean, maybe you could hook something every once in a while, but I mean, you'd have to pull really hard. And the fish would have to be, anywhere nearby. That was how I met my old friend. It was my first time doing the drop and yank, and I pulled the thing up from the water, but it fought back and tore itself free. I couldn't forget that bloody wound in the disfigured eye. I can still feel that eye staring at me. Of course, I didn't bother with human-fin relations back then. People have to angle when they get hungry, and I can't help it when things get ugly. When I was a punk kid, we lived like fins stuffed in a can. First thing we'd do in the morning was a head count to see who survived and who got devoured. By the streets, stealing, mugging, and lying, those were the survival techniques. We negotiated with fists. When you have to drop and yank for fins, you know how rough it was back in those days. Then some guy showed up, one that didn't treat us like feral wildlings. He taught us how to negotiate properly, how to step back a little, how to protect those around us. He even handed me La Estrada. Told me that someone has to do something different for the city. I believed him, Maybe I can clean up the biz and make a name for myself. Nights got real quiet in those days. I would sometimes angle for fins at the wharf. That was when I saw it again. It became a great fin. Monstrous thing always fought back, always broke free, and always swam its victory circle. It was laughing at me with that ring of ripples. So I fought with people in the day and the fin at night, and it lasted till my two most trusted friends gave me a game of gangs and reality show plus a ton of backstabbing. They were like two insane raptor fins trying to off each other, and I paid an eye to get them to stop. On the day when the gang broke up, I sat at the wharf to see the waves breaking against the wall. We painted graffiti together as kids. Now there was nothing but froth. Our friendship became a dead fin, scaled and scraped clean. That was also the day when I realized it had become an old geezer fin. Old dude also lost a lot of weight, and its scales are falling off. The injured eye had suddenly already turned entirely white. It leaped out of the water and stared at me coldly, just laughing at me and telling me how I deserved everything. I thought it was our last meeting. But just 2 days ago, I ran into the geezer fin during night angling after I closed shop. It was full moon. I knew old geezer fin bit the hook. Man, I know that deadly strength anywhere. The battle felt like it lasted 100 years. You should have seen the splashes. Feels like Mei Mei testing out her explosives underwater. But I was the victor of the struggle. The line did not snap, and I hoisted geezer fin out of the water. It looked way bigger than it did during its prime. I was about to lower it in the fin crate when I saw that there was nothing on the hook. Even the bait was still intact. Did I actually hook the thing? Did it just come and leave? Or was it just my unresolved angst and dilemmas that used the cover of night to show themselves? I finally understood when the last ripple disappeared. It was no longer a simple fin. It had become my lingering disappointments and obsessions. An embodiment of what-ifs left behind whenever I see someone leaving or dying early. I even toyed at the idea of using the Orangenium arts to hook it in its entirety. I knew its form, its wounds, its actions, and even the way it stares at people. It's living with me, and it's way more alive than it had been in water. He's the geezer fin.
Nothing's left on the schedule. Great! Time to get that angling shell rerun. That place. Yeah. That one all covered in snow. It's the north, right? I would not be seeing this if I never joined at Endfield. When I first got on Degen, the view from the bridge was almost too much to take in. Now that I'm used to it, looking down at Talos 2 from up here feels pretty magical. My combat skills? I just swing the sword around and hope it hurts something real bad, boss. But you can also learn my special skill after fighting giant tusk beasts, man-eating vines, full metal angeloi, and compañeros who owe you serious money. You see, folks my age get bored of a lot of things. Angling's the only escape I've got left from all this grim reality. Okay, I'm still young? Got the burger like crap. I'm way older. Wait, Ant-Man. How old are you again? I've been flipping through this book about common folks. You know, stuff like survival and humanity's struggle doesn't usually interest me. But I feel the author is like someone who actually lived the life. Hey, what's wrong? Why so serious all of a sudden? Relax, boss. I'm just saying I admire the author, that's all. Being hard to kill is probably my only advantage. I got hit real bad a couple of times. But there were too many people I might miss. Like my amigos, the old landlord, and you guys as well. The thought alone always makes me crawl back up for round 2. Feeling low? Man, young people should be hopeful. I know things are terrible, but it's going to get worse from now. See? You're feeling a lot better already, right? Why did I join Endfield? My old Worcester landlord, that's why. He's always angry, you know. My fin shop isn't doing too good, and I owed him months of rent. So he got me a job without asking me. Don't know what he wrote for my resume, but you accepted it. So here I am.
Insane thing for a landlord to do, but also kind of nice.
What's that in your hand? Second gangster leading La Estrada. The cara in the photo looks like me. Say la, come on, we should live in the moment. No point digging up what's meant to stay buried. It will be a shame if we let some old dusty story come between us, don't you think? Why are you asking Perlica for the security bureau's number?
What the heck, Endman?
I used to roll with Estrada Ursanya. Most call it La Estrada. The city's a huge place that breeds small-timers like me. I grew up in the city's armpit, found my crew, joined a bigger gang, and somehow ended up leading it. Then, well, everything blew up in my face. Puxa, if I knew I'd end up like this, I should have joined the Fin Cannery 20 years ago. Now, here I am, selling fins for a living. What's with the stare? Curious about this car? A man with story doesn't hand them up easily. What's behind us stays behind. Gotta let it go and just walk on... Hey, Endman, don't really walk away. Okay, I'll tell you. It's nothing fancy. Had two ride or dies. One took a swipe at me when I was covering for the other. Lost an eye and a chunk of my old life right there. There you have it. Simple and boring, right? Life isn't like angling. You can always retrieve a cast lure when angling. But in real life, there's no easy way out once you're in hot water. This is exactly why living the happy life is important. True legit wisdom from an old boy, Endman. My little fin shop isn't doing too well. I couldn't even afford rent without that Endfield paycheck. Honestly, I wasn't expecting to make serious bucks selling fins. That's why I let people haggle all they want, and even run tabs if they need to. Even when I got luck with angling, I simply gave the extra fins away. Life isn't easy for everyone, you know? There was this time when a thief visited my place. The sneak found nothing valuable and left me a note. Sorriest place I've ever seen. Man.
That's brutal.
Here's my philosophy of life. Tolerate the little things and dodge the bigger things. Only do something when dodging is impossible. Then you give them hell and make sure they stay down. Is the eye giving me trouble? Yeah, it can be annoying sometimes. For example, you were standing in my blind spot when you greeted me just then. Yeah, it's okay. I'm already used to this. Perfect vision isn't that exciting. Maybe it's actually better to keep certain things in the dark and make them mysterious. The tarot show yesterday predicted I would be super lucky today. And guess what? I fell into the stinky sewers right after leaving my place. I was like, rapaz, most inaccurate tarot show ever. But then I spotted something shining in the muck. A diamond ring. So hey, maybe I was lucky after all. Felt bad for whoever lost it though. So I used my super luck to find this poor guy and returned the ring. What I'm saying is, boss, if we use our luck to do the right thing, maybe even more luck will come our way. Concorda? I lived in the messy frontiers, you know? It's where kids either grew up with a stinky family or without one. Not sure which one's more screwed up. Me? I had no familia, no education, and no roof over my head. So yeah, I ran with the streets. Spent my days brawling with other kids just to survive. We hated each other's guts, but all the threats forced us to make funny choices. Somehow we got together and created our own family. Funny enough, we even carved our own rules on that lawless turf. The old landlord wrote me again. He wasn't asking for rent, but he's curious about my recent situation. Even calling me a lazy good-for-nothing who can't take care of myself. Man, hard to believe he was some big deal during his younger days. Wait, why does he care so much about me? Is he trying to make me his son? Dude, I'm already funding his retirement by paying rent. Wheelchair chauffeur duties aren't in the lease. He kept whining about his knees. Maybe I should give him an auto massager. Seriously, this old man needs to look after himself instead of pestering me with this nonsense. Plus, if he is so worried, he could just drop in instead of guilty-tripping me through letters. Talos City has a special meaning for Talos too. After the Humiliation War, the Big Three signed the Band Accord and jointly built Talos City. It was the first neutral city for the Terrans. That's what the history books say. A grand city still incomplete after a century of construction work. Maybe I can describe it better. A wise-necked graying man who raised his lance and pointed at the sun beyond the hills. A lot more cultured, right? Well, I didn't waste no time reading Ursin novels. So you're curious about that strange thing I caught? Now that's a long story. I grew up fighting, not reading. Couldn't even say original arts properly when I was a young punk. When I just lost my eye and was feeling all dazzled and confused, I sensed something swimming around in my blind spot. It got really annoying when I was angling, so I cast my bait real hard and boom! You know what happened next. Old man told me I got a talent for the arts. I don't know if it's a curse. Looks like magical stuff. Can I take another look?
I like that. That actually made me like Alesh. That was good. He's a neat character. Someone else I was missing, or we did all of those. We did Chin. Nope, that's everyone. We could do one more. We could boost Estelle, or not Estelle. Ardelia, who's on break apparently.
Got any insider news? Come on, don't make it a secret.
I'm really sorry.
This Y-axis transport belt.
We might be running low on the side. Be careful when walking around Dijon, Professor. A gift?
Really sorry. I thought it already broke.
If I teleport, it might trigger her conversation as well. Or not. Oh well.
Originium will co-
Ardelia, Rhodes Island, Cabernet, expertise, geological surveyor, drop a plumb bob that points straight to the heart of this land. Expertise, mountain hiker. Though aching and dazed, she labors hard to register the summit of the rocky outcrop. Hobbies, pastry chef. She's mixing some butter and chocolate to make an extra large lava cake. Patience, people, everyone's getting a slice. Interesting. Hobbies, ecological affinity. The splattering of rain upon the land is the language by which the world renews itself. Everything gets a new look when tomorrow dawns. Birthday, October 18th. Fiala's original birthday was also October 18th. Interesting. But we know Pogornichnik's was a different birthday, so I wonder if it is just a matter of if they decide to use their original, or if they decide to use some other one that they choose for some reason. We'll have to cross-reference more, but that does seem to be the case between these two. Or apathy negative. Normal strength, standard skill, normal acumen, and outstanding arts assimilation. You know, now that I think about it, it's interesting that the reconveners are negative oropathy. That's interesting, actually. You would think that they would just inherently be oropathy, but I guess if they're just pulled out of it, then it's different. But is Hierda still infected? I think she is, right? Maybe she got the short end of the stick. Ardelia is an expert geologist from Rhodes Island. She specializes in volcanic hazards and has made significant contributions to Talos 2's geological research. Now employed by Endfield, she spends much of her time conducting site investigation. Ardelia is one of those rare minds at the forefront of scientific discovery. What sets her apart isn't just her expertise, but her perseverance, fearless spirit, and above all, her genuine love for science and unquenchable curiosity. Without dedicated researchers like her, we might never truly understand the world we live in. You'll often find her venturing out alone, collecting samples, studying geological structures, and transforming observations into theories. Thanks to her efforts, Endfield has gained a much deeper understanding of Talos 2's geology and the threats posed by the Blight. Her research has laid the groundwork for emergency plans in case of Blight outbreaks. I have great respect for Ardelia, for her humility, grace, and unwavering sense of purpose. It is as if she carries an endless well of strength, always certain of the path she must follow. Martin Marvin Mullen, HR. Mr. Dolly's Game. Shortly after joining Endfield, Ardelia visited a blight-ravaged sector of Talos 2. The geological disaster had shredded a once peaceful settlement, leaving fissures that pulsed with residual energy. Survivors bore wounds beyond the physical, their eyes hollow with the kind of trauma only disaster refugees know. Ardelia stayed at the shelter for a while. The wounded crowded steel cots, limbs lost, eyes vacant, voices severed by trauma. White curtains divided their suffering as medical monitors pulsed like wary hearts. Ardelia worked tirelessly, organizing supplies, changing bandages, murmuring, "I understand your sorrow," to the wounded, until a voice serrated with grief cut through. "You don't understand." It was a young girl, small but fierce. She forced the words through gritted teeth. "You stand straight, your steps don't falter, no disaster has carved its mark into you." The girl turned away, her voice fraying at the edges. "Stop, just stop pretending. Maybe you've been sick, but you healed. That's luck we'll never taste. Our stories end in the same sentence, lifelong pain. So when you say you understand, is that pity's cheap coin? Spare us. Ardelia stood there in her research coat, ponytail precise, steps steady, and eyes bright. The Orangenium had scored the reconvener's illness away, tuning her to wind whispers and microscopic fractures in stone. Yet here, before those still drowning in pain, her engineered perfection rendered her mute. Yeah, so I guess, yeah. So she came back, but because she came back as a reconvener, she's fine. Don't know attuning her to wind whispers and microscopic fractures, though. I don't know what that means. Her arts, maybe, I guess. When darkness fell upon the land, Mr. Dolly appeared. It trotted between beds and corridors, leaving chaos in its wake. Toppling medicine cabinets, upending tea trays, kicking a freshly filled hot water bottle beneath pillows. Nurses cursed the sudden swelter. Children shrieked about something furry burrowing under their blankets. Ardelia chased Mr. Dolly into an old break room where she tugged at a canvas sheet to reveal a dust-choked piano. It stomped the keys, a discordant chime that jolted Ardelia into clarity. Ardelia approached, brushing away the dust. The yellowed keys stared back. A few bass notes, dissonant but functional. She sat, fingertips tracing a tentative sequence of Latinian arpeggios into the stale air. Thought that I was going to say agloy at first, but no. Arpeggios. First piece, second, and as the third began, soft footsteps whispered from the hallway's depths. Mr. Dolly laid curled nearby, a silent cushion of warmth. The children nestled against its fur, their breaths sinking with Ardelia's piano as the notes wove through the stale air. The young girl came in as well, perching quietly in the farthest corner. It still hurts, she murmured, but when you play, the world becomes something worth enduring. Mr. Dolly's game number 2. The geology of Talos II, unlike the volcanoes she knew, brimming with the vitality of expansion, eruption, and flow. Under erosion, it showed more of corrosion, withering, and consumption. The rock layer lost their logic, the earth as if diseased. Its skin peeled away, veins twisted, some areas warped by aberration. Ardelia came to study the blight, to keep pace with its unpredictable spread. She often ventured into high-risk zones alone, turning her life into lists of tasks. She started to speak less, no longer weaving her thoughts into poetry. Her voice grew quieter, meals were often forgotten, and at night her fists clenched unconsciously in her sleep. The things she had fought so hard to protect, her eyes, her ears, the rhythm of her pulse, now filled her with a quiet unease. The health she had regained was slowly being eroded by an unseen dread. How much time do I have left? She wondered. It wasn't death she feared, it was a desperate race against the crumbling of this strange new land. Until that day, Mr. Dolly leapt out from a shallow pit. He knocked over her rock hammer and snatched the instrument case. Ardelia followed, shouting in vain. They ran farther and farther, off route, off plan. She was supposed to be surveying a newly formed blight rift, but instead she found herself in a quiet valley sheltered by cliffs. A vast outcrop of columnar igneous rock stretched before her. Hexagonal pillars rose from the ground like piano keys. Beneath her feet lay ancient volcanic ruins, so well preserved it was as if time had paused. That familiar spark rekindled in her heart once more. Ardelia knelt down, pulled out her notebook, and began to sketch, not for a mission, nor for data, but simply because it was beautiful and captivating. That evening, Ardelia and Mr. Dolly made camp nearby. A cool breeze whispered through the air as stars rose between the jagged rock spires. Mr. Dolly curled at her feet, let out a sneeze, sending her pen cap tumbling into the grass. You led me here on purpose, didn't you? Mr. Dolly didn't answer. It rolled over and tapped her boots with its legs. You think I've stopped being myself. After all I do now is worry, racing against the blight. But I'm scared too, scared that if I slow down even for a moment, it'll be too late. She ran her fingers along Mr. Dolly's back and closed her eyes. The warmth of its fur against her palm was so comforting that for the first time, she slept soundly and sweetly under the open sky. The next morning, she logged in her journal, ancient volcanic ruins discovered in the northeast. Columnar joints well preserved. Led here by Mr. Dolly, reconnected with my love for geology, mood content. Note to self, slow down, stay healthy. Mr. Dolly's Game 3. Gazing out at the glistening coastline of ancient or distant skyscrapers, a long-forgotten name came to Ardelia's mind. Siesta, a volcanic city wrapped in warm memories. But this was La Fantoma, the gem of Ban, the gilded city of Talos II. As a renowned geologist, Ardelia was invited to speak at a major academic forum on order in the new geological ecology of Talos II. She had only planned to deliver a standard presentation, but to her surprise, her speech caused quite a stir. Corporate representatives quickly surrounded her, sharing blueprints for a new industrial park and asking for her thoughts. Senior researchers eagerly shared their latest findings, hoping to spark potential collaborations with Ardelia. Even government officials brought thick binders and invited her to join their next major project. Just like that, a quiet field researcher had become the star of the show. What began as a simple handshake soon turned into warm compliments. You're an inspiration to us all. In the elevator, someone stopped Ardelia with a notebook asking for an autograph to hang in his lab. At crosswalks, kids would shout, "I want to be a scientist too." Even a street vendor handed her a soda saying, "My nephew loves geology. Got any book recommendations?" Wow, she really became famous. At first, Ardelia found it moving. She nodded politely to every earnest face, patiently answered each well-meaning question, but slowly exhaustion crept in. She didn't resent these people, nor did she dislike their attention. It was just she wasn't ready to be known. After a grueling 3-hour round table, she opened the door and ran. She passed a giant poster of herself labeled "Young Female Scientist Role Model" and vanished into the crowd. That's when she realized Mr. Dolly was gone. No one knew what it was or where it had gone. In a shopping mall, a woman screamed about something fluffy bumping into her. On a rooftop, a flower bed was trampled flat by something pink. Someone even posted a blurry photo of something round darting over the ticket gate, carrying a bag of cotton candy. Ardelia tracked these clues and searched half of the city. Her shoes wore thin, mud clung to her skirt, and a headache crept over her. Nearly out of breath, she stumbled out of a side alley and stopped. It was a patch of untouched wilderness at the city's edge, untamed, bursting with wildflowers. The sea breeze carried their fragrance in gentle waves, and there lay Mr. Dolly sprawled at the heart of it all, motionless as the earth itself. "What are you even doing here?" Ardelia asked, half frustrated, half amused. Mr. Dolly didn't answer. He just rolled over lazily. Ardelia walked over and sat beside him. Then she switched off her handy term. The meetings, the obligations, all of it could wait. After all, nothing suits a geologist better than the open wild. Ardelia's Game 4. The day Ardelia boarded De Jong with her sample box, she realized something was missing. Where's Mr. Dolly? Invisible to most people, this fluffy creature was already happily wandering aboard De Jong. In plain sight, Zaihi bowed apologetically to the empty space and said, "My sincere apologies, I did not mean to step on you, noble invisible being." Something just barged in here, who half licked the hot pot soup base. The canteen buzzed with surprised shouts. Who changed my alarm sound to ba ba ba? Oh no, I'm going to be late for sword practice. You must be a ghost, and it's pink. I'm calling dibs. Yvonne dashed down the hallway excitedly. When Ardelia arrived, she found the administrator crouched by the door, slowly extending a hand as if waiting for some silent consent. Mr. Dolly gazed at the administrator a moment before leaning in, letting the finger sink into its thick wool. Was that a word? That devout sister pays little mind to anything beyond the pursuit of wisdom. The cheerful chef, oh, he hides weightier thoughts behind that grin. Don't mistake his ease for carelessness, not until his burdens are settled. The girl who dreams of being a master pugilist, will she wake from those dreams, or will she bend the world to match them? And the one who shares my shade of pink, she's already found her path. Already happy. On the bridge, Ardelia sat with Mr. Dolly beside her. Beyond the viewport, stars flickered like distant lanterns, and the Zhang itself slumbered in the quiet dark, a silent giant adrift in the cosmos. As for the masked one, Mr. Dolly flicked its ears and let out a soft, satisfied bah, as if saying, "You can trust the administrator." Interesting that nothing talks about... actually explains Dolly for people who don't know. Maybe some of the dialogue will. But also I'm curious, like, is it the Mr. Dolly? Or is it... because they were reconvened on Talos, right? So unless Mr. Dolly came here and then just happened to come across them after reconvening, I think it's just also a reconvened Dolly, or like some manifestation of Dolly that came with Ardelia after being reconvened. Like, I don't think it could be the real Dolly.
Be careful when walking around Dijiang, Professor. There are all sorts of warning signs aboard the ship, and I keep tripping over them. I just couldn't notice them when I'm thinking about things. I can see plenty of sites that I personally prospected from aboard Dijiang. The wildlands, the prairies, and the north seems so small from this place. The view from orbit easily covers all those lengthy field trips I took. Gotta say, it's kind of exciting being up here. Professor, interested in the reading group I'm organizing tomorrow? What are we sharing? Oh, it can be anything you like reading. Speaking of which, Mr. Crad once brought a photo magazine about the volcanoes of Talos too. I'll bring it to the reading group if you're interested. You must be hungry after all that work, Professor. Try these. They're Higashi-ni's snacks that Miss Akikori gave me. I don't need any actually because... I had some already. Why is this unopened? Miss Akikori gave me another box. Haven't you noticed, Professor? You're always out in the front, like you're trying to shield us from whatever danger's ahead. Sometimes I even had to jog a little just to keep up with you. Maybe you don't have to go so fast. We're right here with you, and we want to help too. Every trip back to Dijiang is so relaxing. When I'm not sharing stories of my trip with my colleagues, I'll visit the growth chambers and see how the little plants are doing. I'll even give them some tender, loving care if I have time to spare. It's a little hobby of mine. It feels so fulfilling seeing them grow.
Is one of the random sheep? I mean, yeah, it doesn't look like Dolly, but I don't. Yeah, I mean, even then, I think it would be. I think it had to have come with her because she also has that piece of obsidian from Siesta, but she was never there. So unless it was like in Rhode Island storage from Aya Fiala's like leftover possessions or something. I think it just manifested with her. I don't know. So maybe the sheep did too.
really tired. Please don't tell me you stayed up all night again. Come on, you know that's really bad for you. No ifs or buts. It's rest time now. Oh, stop nipping the professor's clothes, Mr. Dolly. I'm so sorry. They're just so mischievous. You can't see them. Oh, Mr. Dolly only show themselves when they want to be seen. Is Mr. Dolly the Sovereign? No, Mr. Dolly isn't a name for anyone in particular, since they're a flock of dollies. Oh, come out and tell the professor yourself, Mr. Dolly. I know you can talk.
Okay. So it's not... there might be more than one technically. Right? Like she said, Mr. Dolly's made up of multiple sheep, so... It's not the Sovereign itself. Unless the Sovereign itself could be there, but that in that conversation, at least, it wasn't, right? But maybe it never is. Maybe they were just a couple sheep that were hanging out on Rhodes Island. Like the Rock. Leftover possessions? I don't know. But that at least gives us a bit more context.
I climbed another mountain today. The geological compass helped me ascertain the orientation and gradient of the rock strata, while the pick helped me gather sedimentary rock samples for optical and texture studies. I'm not tired at all, Professor. I can totally climb more mountains, and make more trips, and gather more geological data. Unraveling the mysteries of this planet brings me so much joy. I can't even explain how happy I am. Having friends by your side in such a festive moment feels so good. This reminds me of that time when I first arrived at Endfield. People threw a welcoming party for me filled with all the things I like. Oh, the sweets, the flowers, and the joyful, happy music. Miss Yvonne even took my hand and we danced to the latest pop. The spins and moves kinda left me disoriented, but I did my best to remember every smile. What is the ether side? This question keeps coming to mind. If the universe has such cruelty in store for us, is there anything I can do to help everyone? You're thinking the same thing, Professor? That means we're not alone.
We've got some good topics coming up, okay. Also, yeah, it seems like she's friends with Yvonne.
Your voice is so soothing, Professor. Oh, I meant nothing else by that. It's just... You know how when waking from a dream, sounds always reach you before the sights? Prior to my eyes falling upon your face, it is your footsteps and your voice that touch my ears first. Yes. Most living beings made their own voices, be they insects, beasts, trees, or plants. The voices move me. They're why I've decided to protect the world we all love, in my own special way. Everyone at Endfield is incredibly kind. Miss Yvonne would always share her latest scientific findings and new vinyl records with me. Miss Akekori would always invite me to the usual place for afternoon tea. And of course there's Mr. Antal. He told me he could modify my staff into a highly portable prospecting tool and embellish it with a suite of wondrous features. If Miss Akekori hadn't pulled him away after 3 hours, he probably would have spent the entire day explaining every detail. Field geological surveyors enjoy a great deal of freedom, but the lack of funds can be quite frustrating at times. To acquire funding, I would give seminars and lectures at various companies, hoping that my faith and vision could be persuasive enough. Most companies, except for Endfield, weren't interested in early warning systems for geological disasters. But when the Siesta Group heard about my research, they stepped in with unconditional sponsorship. I think I know why they're being so generous. Perhaps this fateful encounter is part of my heritage.
There's a Siesta Group company. That's interesting. And do they recognize her and are like, we're not gonna think too hard about this? Do they think she's a descendant?
I once traveled with an aldertone from the Hanabit circuit. She sang such beautiful Hana songs and told me about the aldertone who guided her. Everyone in the circuit dwell upon this land, so they have a deep respect for those who study it, like us. I felt really happy when she told me that. But honestly, it was through her Hana that I found my own purpose and motivation. That's right, Professor. This was the trip I made before I found my true calling upon Talos too. I once traveled with an aldertone from the Hanabit circuit. Another tear in my clothes? Oh, it's okay, really. I can stitch it up again. Field surveys are always a bit rough on clothes anyway. I have to climb up mountain peaks for rare mineral samples, and the jagged rocks are not very gentle. But that feeling, when you're so close to your goal, sometimes it makes you forget just how risky each step can be. Please don't worry, Professor. I'll be more careful next time. Either side is something entirely new we have to face in Talos too. There are theories describing it as a unique physical phenomenon, while others regard it as a strange spatial and temporal dimension. But I have this feeling that it's a forgotten and dusty room filled with old things that nobody cared about anymore. Professor, maybe the ether side has something to do with our origins.
Whose origins? Reconvener's origins or humanity's origins? Interesting. That's a new perspective to think about.
I came from Rhodes Island, where I received all kinds of training and lessons that helped me build my own identity. I had no blood relations, childhood, nor past to call my own, but Rhodes Island taught us how to live and understand ourselves. Professor, Rhodes Island is my home, and they all told me that it was yours as well.
Oh. Well, there you go. If there was any doubt, I think that clears it up right there.
Mr. Dolly is actually quite lively. I just can't figure out why it won't show itself to other people. It's invisible to you right now, but it loves playing with you. What's Mr. Dolly doing now? Well, it's trying to sit on your... Oh dear. Mr. Dolly, stop it! Stop messing around with the professor! Well, that's Mr. Dolly for you. We met on a quite ordinary day, and then it decided to stick around and never left me ever since.
Okay. I guess they just ran into each other again. Huh. But this one's more quiet, and I mean, Dolly already was invisible a lot, so that's not too crazy, but it seems like it's even more, perhaps. I was gonna say maybe it's more invisible because it comes from her, but if she just ran into it one day, I guess she just ran into it.
Miss Yvonne is an incredible scientist. When I first arrived in Endfield, she shared tons of important info to get me up to speed about the ether side. She even shared her research findings with me, hoping they could help other researchers in our field. And to top it off, we both share a love for music. Though I'm into lighter melodies, and she's into faster, heavier beats, she still gave me several albums of La Fantoma pop. She's amazing. I've once witnessed a giant Originium cluster swallowed up and broken down by the blight that rose like an ocean tide. Nothing was left but a barren valley. A tusk beast survived the disaster and returned to its home, alone and confused. The ether side and the blight are like anathemas of each other, while we teeter precariously along the edge for survival. From Originium I was born, and thus I felt compelled to learn about the ether. My only wish is to make this world a safer home for everyone.
The ether side and the blight are like anathemas to each other? That doesn't make sense. And she was born of Originium, so she's compelled to learn about the ether. There is a connection to Originium here now with the ether, which has not been said before. And also saying that the ether side and the blight... I thought the blight was coming from the ether. That was the whole... Right?
Unlike the blight and rifts, Orleans aren't that dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, even that, the Orlean comes, which is ether, comes, unlike the blight, Orlean's not that dangerous. So, that's a weird sentence.
Once witnessed a giant
Ether side and blight are like
cluster
anathemas of each other.
swallowed up and broken down by the blight that rose like an ocean tide. Nothing was left but a barren valley. A tusk beast survived the disaster and returned to its home, alone and confused. The ether side and the blight are like anathemas of each other, while we teeter precariously along the edge for survival. From Originium I was born, and thus I felt compelled to learn about the ether. My only wish is to make this world a safer home for everyone.
Maybe that's old. Or maybe she just knows more than we do. She seems to be making some sort of connection to Originium and reconveners in the ether side, so... Interesting to think about. Can't write it off. Oh, she just toasted me. Racing the Blight. Got a moment, Professor? Yep, what is it? I had a nightmare, but there is no one around to talk to. It's okay, I'm here for you. I dreamt that while analyzing data after sampling, I overlooked a critical parameter. Then the blight spread along a fault line. First came volcanic eruptions and fractures tearing through all of Talos 2's strata, and finally the planet fell apart. That's crazy. You're right, at least nothing else happened yet. We still have time. What's your plan? I'm going to calculate whether this possibility even exists. While my mind is still clear, I can think carefully about countermeasures. I'll stay online with you. Message me when you need me. Thank you, Professor. I feel better just knowing you're here for me. Professor, are you still there? Yep. Yes, I input the data from the last 4 weeks of volcanic activity and crustal disturbances. If blight continues spreading along in the severing fault zone, the probability of large-scale volcanic and seismic disaster is 1.7%. That seems low. Maybe we can breathe a little easier now? Yeah, no, I was going to say that's actually really high. This probability is actually quite terrifying. When morning comes, I may have to ask the Oathkeepers to send another squad to escort me north. I must resurvey activity centers located deep in several fissures. You're with the Oathkeepers? Yes, my main research plan this year is to head to the northern ice fields where ether activity is at its most intense. Weather there is pretty extreme, but the Oathkeepers seem accustomed to it. They may seem hard to approach, but they're actually very reliable. It's a blessing to have them on your side. They're trustworthy. Besides, I've also met miners from the Woosters, Songseers, the Hannibit Circuit, and convoys of the TGCC. When they heard I was a geological researcher from Enfield, they offered to help. Light is our common enemy. Everyone will fight it together. That's right. By the way, I've collected many valuable samples this time and done some preliminary analyses. Once I'm back to Dejong, I'd love to study them in depth with you. I truly hope we can make a breakthrough soon. The scale of blight on Talos 2 is far greater than we imagine, and unlike volcanoes, which may rage with fearsome power yet pulse with life, blight only breathes death. So I must race against it with all my strength. I'll run with you. Wherever your step leads, or wherever your path leads, my steps will follow. There you go. Hopefully the planet doesn't blow up. That would be bad. But that leaves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 characters still, actually. More than I thought. Most of them are all 150 and above. Not counting Zhong. So they'll all be finished pretty soon. We'll keep chipping away at them once I get like a good amount. 4 or 5, it seems like it takes a stream, depending on the characters, I guess. Z7 stuff was a bit shorter. But we'll be there eventually. So until then, thank you all for watching. And may the sands of time treat you well.